Welcome into the Rant. I'm Pugs Moran. I do this every day, Monday through Friday, live from the E-Gallery Studios here in the beautiful Dallas Design District. What do we do here? Well, it's me, a middle-aged narcissist, ranting into a live stream camera for up to 2 hours plus each and every day on current events, hot topics, whatever it is people are thinking about, whatever it is people are talking about, the hot topics, the buzz, the headlines, all that stuff. It's a current event show. How are my fellow misfits today? Let's see. Let's check in with the chat room. I've been sneaking in the chat room early this whole week just to see who's truly what. There's my girl. There's my girl, April. We got Peter. Hi, Peter. We got Jeff. Hey. Where's Barney? Barney and I are beefing. I was having some fun with Barney last night on the Twitter. Barney, you know, Barney's one of my MAGA buddies. I got a lot of MAGA buddies. I even got, this will surprise some Texans. I got MAGA buddies in Illinois, in Chicago. Like, I got Chicago MAGA buddies. So everybody needs to figure out a way to get along. Remember when we ditched everybody the first time, like 2016, and then like a couple of years later, maybe through happenstance, you ran into somebody you stopped hanging around with for stupid political reasons, and you're like, well, glad that's over, and then you became friends again, and then suddenly we had this whole thing happen, this election cycle, and you're friends with the person you stopped being friends with before, but you both kind of recognize that was some nonsense, so you're just white-knuckling it through this? That's what we are here. That's what we, the gathering of misfits who like to do bipartisan, non-confrontational. Oh, fuck you, non-confrontational. By the way, I've noticed during my hate rewatches, I like to rewatch these shows in a hateful way. I am very self-loathing. I've noticed, man, am I aggressive lately. Since we have moved to the E-Gallery Studios, there is not only a spring in my step, but there is some salt in my spit. I have been salty. Should I dial back the swear words? Let me tell you what's going on in my head. In my head, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Just go for it now. Just be as, you were measured before, but just go for it. Just be a personality. If people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. You can't please everybody. Just be yourself. And that's what I'm doing. Myself, I'm going to have a drink of Code Mix. Not a sponsor, although they should be. I got an idea. Code Mix is just an energy drink. I was sampling energy drink and hydration drinks, and I chose Code Mix is the one I like because it seems to taste exactly like Red Bull in 1995. It's almost like like somebody's grandpa died, and grandpa, like for a moment in 97, was like a distributor for this new brand Red Bull, and he's got all these cases of real Red Bull and they just put it in this can. That's what I'm going with. Code Mix, pretty good. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I should just invoice them. I should just send them a bill. I should just make a nice little sizzle tape, a composite of the last couple of days where I've chosen them as my favorite energy drink. And I should just send them a bill. I mean, what could go wrong? They might just pay it. If they're a big enough company, they might just pay it. They might just be like, oh, we owe this and let's just pay it. Who knows? I'm going to try that. Start working up some invoices. Code Mix. Semi-official sponsor. We'll see if they send a check, and if the check goes through. They won't. I won't even do that. Hell, I might change my affiliations tomorrow. I might find a new energy drink. All right, chat room. Let's keep going. Who else we got here? Oh, I didn't merge the chat room. Sorry. There you go. Boom. There you go, guys. All right, we got Barney here. Barney, we ain't beefing. You just wrong. Je ne sais quoi says, keep swearing. Yeah, you don't mind the swearing. But there was a period of time where I was in a relationship with some radio stations, and nothing came of those things. And during the shows around that time, I was, more measured, I suppose, is the way we'll say it. But now I just want to let it go. Come on. Yeah, maybe it's the energy drink. Maybe it's my new pretend sponsor, Code Mix. I don't know. We'll find out. Peter's in the chat room. Hi, Peter. April, we said hi to April. We also got Frankie B. We got Barney, je ne sais quoi. Let me keep moving. People need to start. I'm going to start starting right at noon. You guys who Everybody seems to kind of come in. We seem to be at our biggest right about the bottom of the hour, 20 after. But then again, maybe this isn't the good stuff. This is the stuff everybody wants to get me done with anyway. All right, what else was I thinking? Oh, the dog got out last night. The dog, you want to know, I found something. I talk a lot about the dog, CeeLo. I discovered something about her last night, and you know what? It made me feel good because on some subconscious level, I think this really bothered me. What bothers me? Every time the dog gets an opportunity to escape the home, the dog will take the opportunity, and she is gone like a rocket ship out the door, and boom. And God forbid you got to run into the house and get your keys because you're screwed, because you need to keep an eye on exactly where she goes because she darts around lefts, rights. She makes no sense. So you wouldn't even know where to begin if you had to blindly go out looking for her. So anyway, I happened to have my keys in my hand. She got out of her harness yesterday. I was trying to adjust it, and all of a sudden she just dropped to her knees, made herself really thin, and slid right out of her harness. And then for a moment, she realized that she was free. She looked me dead in the eye as I lay frozen in panic, like, please, dog, let me pet you. Let me put this back on. She stared at me for a split second as if to say, yeah, I'm doing it. And she was gone. She just took off. And now I am long past the stage where I chase her on foot. Are you kidding me? This dog is a super athlete. I'm not chasing her. She is never. So my car was right there, and I had my keys in my hand. So I immediately jumped in the car with windows down, and I'm kind of tracking her, and I'm seeing where she's going. And I'll tell you, she didn't get 50 yards, and this is what's important to me. This is the subconscious thing that I always wondered about. Why was she running away? She didn't like it. We're not nice enough to her. She doesn't get enough table food. She doesn't give enough walks. She's got it good. She was a bum box dog. She was a dog that was living her life in a box at an intersection. And now suddenly she's getting 4 walks a day. She's getting good food, getting played with. She's getting loved on relentlessly. She's just got it good. So I'm like, where the fuck is this dog trying to get away? So she gets away last night, and I jump in the car, and she doesn't get too far. I'm watching her. I'm in the car. I'm like, I got you. And I got the windows down. She goes and she runs in this flower bed, and she takes a poop, like immediately, which is telling me one thing. And I'm starting to feel good. What's that telling me? She ain't making a break for it. She's just out there having some fun. She don't want to go anywhere. She's not running away. She's just out there going, I'm free. And she's not getting too far away. And she is stopping to defecate. She's like, all right, hold on. And as she's defecating, I pull up next to her in the car. And I'm looking at her, and she's looking at me. You ever make eye contact with your dog while she's pooping? Oh, God, it's a spiritual moment. I suggest you all do it. You never become more one than when your dog is locking eyes with you while she's dumping. She's at her most vulnerable, and she's going, in this moment, I trust you not to kick me in the head because I am very vulnerable, Daddy. So anyway, she's pooping like that, and she looks at me, and I pull up in the car on the side, the windows down, and I just simply said, CeeLo, come on. And I opened the car door, and there was one thing that I think she loves more than running free. That is riding around in the car with her head hanging out the window. She loves that. So she poops. She looks at the car, and she's like, all right, we're going for a car ride now. She jumped right in the car, came right in the car, turned around. We were not 50 yards from our house. It didn't kill me. It was easy. She wasn't running away was my message. I'm like, she's not running away. She's just running free. And there is a difference. That was awesome. I was so happy. I'm like, come on, it's like 9:30 at night. It's dark. I can't. My eyes are bad. Well, now I got to go get a flashlight. How am I going to do this? She didn't get too far. So that was tragedy averted. The whole episode took maybe 5 minutes from beginning to end. It was that easy. All right, let's see. Who else do we got here in the chat room? We got Jen Hernandez checking in. Mikey D is here. Who else today? Frankie B. Did we mention Frankie B? All right, there we go. All right, folks, let me address your attention to the bottom screen. We are scrolling. It is the official start of Pledge Week. This show needs money to keep on the air in its current form. I've already informed you that the last couple of months have been really bad, so we need your help this month. If you can help us out, keep us going, right down there, the scroll, you'll see it. That's the number that we need. And we're probably looking at end of show Tuesday. So help out if you can, okay? I'm not going to be any evangelical about it because I don't have much dignity, but I do have a little bit. So I do thank you folks who always keep us going. And just a reminder that it is time. I've also noticed a drop-off. Also note there has been a significant drop-off. While the numbers of the actual show haven't changed, there's been a significant drop-off in the gratuities since I took away the executive producer thing. That's saddened me. So I'm going to bring that back. We'll bring that back because this show needs to do whatever it can. All right, let's get started here. The rant. Here's how it unfolds. It's a stream of consciousness performed by me. What is that? That's just me looking at a note and then riffing on it, okay? It's current events based, so we are going to stay in a sort of targeted lane for all of this. Plays out in 4 quarters. The first one is antecedently on this day. What that is an accounting of this day in history. Just a fancy name for it. Previously on this day, if you will. Quarter 2, we call that birthdays. We go through the birthdays of people born on this day, cool or not. It's no more heavier, lighter than that. Quarter 3, that's what we do. Deaths. People who died. These are the people who've died. Okay, shout out Jim Carroll. We take a look at the people who died on this day. We look at their life resume and we decide whether or not they're heaven or hell. Heaven, they're good people. Hell, well, we know what that means. Okay, so that's it. Those are the first 3 quarters. 4th quarter is the current events, hot topics. We got a lot of fun stuff today in the current events, hot topics. I told you, I warned you, I'm just going to let go. I'm just going to riff, and I'm just going to try and be a human being screaming about what he sees. Might I be wrong? Why, certainly, but I'm probably not. I'm probably because I was raised by a good person. And I am following that North Star. So there you go. Yeah, I'll probably swear. All right, let's do it. It is the rant for the very first day of August, year of our Lord 2024. Did you know that August the 1st is the 214th day of the year? That means 152 more until the end of the year. So get those New Year's Eve plans started. Jeff says, I'd like to go back to my normal contribution, but don't anybody make excuses. You people are all loved, okay? First of all, I happen to know that any number of you, if you were in a position to, you'd probably fund the show yourself. I get that, man. We're connected in that way. So I don't ever want to hear anybody go, oh, I'm sorry I couldn't tip as much this month. Don't, people, come on. We're doing this together. I happen to know that you tip what you can when you can. That's in moving forward. That's the best anybody can ask for. I hope good times for all of you. How's that? Like take Byron, for example. Byron's a regular tip. He's a great tipper. He's a great person in the chat room. But he plays poker. I always root for Byron. I'm like, Byron, let's take home the chips. I don't even know how poker works. That's how much of a fucking pussy I am. Seriously. I don't know how poker works. Never played poker. Played blackjack. I get that. That's 21. I'm not a simpleton. But poker, I don't know. I get the concept of it. I just not very practiced. All right, let's do it. Antecedently on this day is the very first segment that we like to do here. This is a look back at history. These are all the things that have shaped our understanding of previously on August the 1st. Antecedently on this day in the year 1498, Christopher Columbus becomes the first European to visit what is now Venezuela. Hey! And he immediately overturned a cop car. Set it on fire. Venezuela is fucked up. All right, moving on. Antecedently on this day in yes, maybe generally speaking, Venezuela's fucked up. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not a great historian on Venezuela. I just pretty much know the stuff everybody else knows, like the bad shit. So that's why I have this impression that Venezuela is generally speaking fucked up, but it is particularly and specifically fucked up this way. Christopher Columbus, first white guy to show up there and go, hey, this place is nice. How do we fuck it up? Antecedently on this day in 1834, slavery is abolished in the British Empire as the Slavery Abolition Act of 1830. These are the people that, like, I'm not going to say they invented it, because I think, like, pretty much as long as there's been, like, a bigger dude that wanted something from a bunch of smaller dudes, I think slavery has existed in humanity in some way, shape, or form. But the British kind of brought it back. They made it real popular, and they sort of perfected it. You know what the British did to slavery? The British did to slavery what guys like Meyer Lansky did for the organized crime in America. They turned it into a corporation. The Brits, with their colonization of Africa and all these other places, they really perfected the art of slavery. They brought it back too. It was something that was frowned upon during the Enlightenment and all of that. But the Brits, they brought it back. Ever so briefly, because they did realize on this day in 1834 that slavery was not a good thing, and that we, the British Empire, the most powerful empire on the planet of our day, we probably shouldn't be engaging in this. 1834. They knew. People knew. So, you always hear this argument. Well, of course, my great-granddaddy owned slaves. There's people back then, and everybody did it. It was normal. No, people knew. It was normalized because society, despite their pledged Christian values of the time, I'm a good rural Christian in 1850s Georgia or whatever. Despite all that, they still, went, hey, I can make more money if I enslave my fellow man. They made that decision. That's a choice. It's a moral choice. It's a principled choice. People knew. Don't stop pretending like nobody ever said that slavery was wrong. This is the first time hearing about it. No, people knew. People knew, and it was a very big issue. But we were an agriculture-based nation. I mean, we were playing catch up, if you will. I mean, these are all the arguments that you hear. It's on this day in 18, we needed to, really mass produce food so that we could take our place at the table with the European nations that dominated the globe at the time. Yeah, no, we didn't. We chose to. We chose to. We hit the easy button on how to make America actually a powerful and economic force around the globe. That was what we did. We made that choice. But let's not run from that choice. We made the choice. And let's stop pretending like everybody was cool with slavery. No, everybody wasn't. 1834, slavery is abolished in the British Empire. On this day, antecedently in the year 1876, Colorado was admitted as the 38th U.S. state. All right. Welcome to the party, Colorado. So if you take, here's how I like to look at things. I like to basically take everything and say, okay, what if that was like high school, right? So let's look at the states. It was just one big high school, and all the states are, like Texas is the captain of the football team and all that. What is Colorado? I think Colorado is the hot stoner dude or chick, right? Yeah. There was this, so growing up, there was this dude, he was a stoner, and he was we had very separate cliques, preppies, jocks, stoners, and it was 80s kind of thing, dweebs, that kind of thing, mathletes, drama kids. We had different groups. Everybody fit into a category back in high school in the 1980s. And I remember there was this stoner dude, and he would hook up with all of these super popular girls who would never actually go out with him or be seen with him. And because he's a stoner, because he's in the stoner category, but he was really attractive. So all the girls were well, I know that he smells like cigarettes, but he's so hot. All right. Why am I talking about hot stoner dudes? Because that's who Colorado is. Colorado is cool, man. It's a good state. It's a good state. Some states are just yeah, you're okay, you're fine. And in some states, you just don't know what to do with, South Dakota, really? What am I supposed to do with a South Dakota? But Colorado is up there. Colorado's it's got Rocky Mountains. It seems to have cool people. Mork and Mindy was set there. There's just so much you can say about Colorado. Welcome to the party. Colorado becomes a state on this day in 1876. On this day in 1957, antecedently, the United States and Canada formed the North American Aero Defense, NORAD. They formed NORAD. Of course, all 100% of my knowledge about what NORAD is comes from war games. The movie War Games, not any kind of military study I've engaged in. No, just actual War Games, the movie with Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy. Yeah, that's where I was first introduced in Want to Play a Game? Remember that when the computer would say to Matthew Broderick in War Games, let's play a game. But it's a war game. It's a real game. Because what did he do? Somehow he hacked into the NORAD computers and started launching. I don't know what it was. I got to watch that again. I wonder if my kid would watch. Nah, do I want to watch it? Well, that was weird. You just witnessed the chaos of my brain. That whole little exchange there, the last 10 seconds, that was the chaos. Do I? Yeah. What? That's me. That's going on in my head all the time. Can't control it, really. Do I want to watch War Games with my kid? What kind of cat is he going to be like, this is a dumb 80s movie? And then I'll argue, but it's about teenagers. And he's like, teenagers that I have nothing in common with. That kind of makes sense. It's like if I was 15, I wouldn't enjoy watching a movie about the French Revolution because one of the main characters was also my age. I'd be like, I can't relate to that dude. All right. Let's see here. NORAD is formed on this day in 1957. On this day in 1966, Charles Whitman kills 16 people at the University of Texas, Austin, before being killed by police. He's the clock tower dude, right? He was, there was a time, there was a good 1966 this happened. So I'd say it was a good 20-year period where he was up there. People, I think they forget Charles Whitman now because we've just been, it's like good baseball players. You forget the guys who were MVPs in the 50s and 60s from time to time simply because there have been so many others. Same could be said for mass killers in this country. Back in the day when, the big three were like Speck, Manson, and this dude, right? It was like, those are the worst. People love it. Richard Speck, he killed 8 nurses. Charles Manson. And then this dude, Charles Whitman, the clock tower shooter. Is it clock tower or is it a bell? I don't know. I've seen it. Well, we've all seen it. I mean, you've been to Austin. It's one of those things you go, that's where that dude shot from. Yeah, and then he's been passed up by, oh my God. I mean, we don't even need to get into the shooting game. But, since him, we got the Bundys and we got the Gacy's and the Dahmers. You got them all. And they're all, it's a dime a dozen now. There's a whole bunch of celebrity bad people, celebrity killers. Charles Whitman. All right, on this day, he got what was coming to him after taking the lives of innocent people. On this day in 1966, University of Texas. On this day in 1976, Niki Lauda has a severe accident that almost claims his life at the German Grand Prix, where it was at the Nürburgring. Nuremberg, that's what they call that F1 track there in Germany. The Nürburgring. Okay, so I'm not going to make a joke about this because Niki Lauda is pretty cool. Niki Lauda, the guy we're talking about here, he was an F1 driver. And in 1976, he was in a legendary, historic battle for the F1 Drivers' Championship with British auto racer James Hunt. And it was Lauda with Ferrari and Hunt with, I don't know who Hunt was with. Lauda was with Ferrari. And they were neck and neck, and they were battling for this title, and there was just contention between them. They were two completely different kinds of drivers. Look, this whole thing, I don't know if you've ever seen like 2010, 11, 12, something like that, probably 12 years ago now, a Ron Howard movie called Rush, starring Thor, right? Who's the guy who plays Storm? Chris Helmsworth. It was him as James Hunt and Daniel Bruhl, great German actor, Daniel Bruhl as Niki Lauda. And it's incredible film. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Rush. It's an incredible, incredible film. Tells the story of this very incident. Well, it tells the story of that season, which was made seriously historic because of this accident. On this day in 76, Niki Lauda has a severe accident that almost claims his life at the German Grand Prix in Nürburgring. So here's what he did. This is why the movie Rush, and I'm not giving anything away because this is athletics history, okay? They didn't make the movie and go, nobody knows how this turns out, all right? So anyway, it was a thing. It was news. I can't be responsible for your ignorance, okay? If it's being spoiled for you, read a book. Anyway, moving on. So Niki Lauda has this terrible car accident while competing against James Hunt. Spins out, catches fire, burns his entire body. And it is this accident that sort of forces James Hunt into rethinking everything about what is going on here. And he hates this guy, Niki Lauda, but now he's looking at his rival and he's in a burn unit covered in The story is, and this is the true story, the story is how they became friends after this. And during Niki Lauda's recovery, which was only like 10 days, it was something absurd. Niki Lauda only missed one race after being burned over like 90% of it, but not 90. It was bad. It was bad. Most people would never race again. He raced like a month later and he resumed the competition with him and James Hunt. And there is a scene, we talked yesterday about these great film scenes. We talked about Marathon Man, John Schlesinger directing, what's his name? The great English actor, the old man, Olivier. Schlesinger directing Olivier to just go so slow and be so calm as the dentist pulling Dustin Hoffman's teeth without any anesthesia, not as a dental procedure, but as pure torture. That scene, we talked about that. We talked about Midnight Express, The Heartbeat. There is a scene in Rush where Niki Lauda decides he's going to race again, and he is burned over his entire body, and he is wrapped in gauze, and they got him in a fire suit, and he's got the helmet on, and he's squeezing into the F1 car for the very first time, like 2-3 weeks, whatever, after being burned. And this is one of them scenes in film that just, if it doesn't make you, Ron Howard is a brilliant filmmaker to begin with, but it just, the cringe, him sliding into the F1 car with his skin being completely burnt, and every little movement is just immense pain. And then him in the F1 car being shaken around with all of this burnt skin. It is an incredible scene. Rush, it was on this day in 1976 that Niki Lauda, German F1 driver, crashed and almost died. On this day, antecedently, in the year 1981, MTV begins broadcasting in the United States and airs its first video. Rock the Casbah by The Clash. Can you name? Okay, it wasn't that. It was that Boogle song. Radio killed the video. Video killed the radio star. I think that's it. I remember, boy, this is my wheelhouse. This was seismic. This was absolutely seismic in my life. What year? 81. So I was 12 years old. Good Lord. I mean, do you have any idea how the culture of my youth and my generation changed on this day in 1981? Were you watching the first day? Did you even have access to MTV the first day? We did in Orland Park, Illinois. We were one of the places that had it from day one. And I remember the very first time that I became aware of MTV. It was Joe Larry, a kid that I went to high school with, a kid I grew up with. He was having a party at his house. Now, it was a 12-year-old party, so the parents were there, and there was cake and birthday hats and shit like that, but it was a kid's party, 12 years old. And I remember the TV in the family room had a commercial for MTV. It was something, and it didn't resemble this early commercial in my mind. It didn't resemble anything that we would come to recognize as being MTV in style or anything. It was just a very plain commercial. Music television is coming to this channel. And I remember thinking, music television, watch that. And then at this party, people started talking about it. They're like, yeah, they're going to show. We didn't know videos. They're like, they're movies. They're like movies with songs. It's like, oh, the songs get their own movies. It was like that. We didn't know what we were thinking. And it was like a week later, I guess, when it debuted. And I remember being back at Joe Larry's house for the debut at like 6 o'clock. Changed everything. MTV changed everything. I mean, from that point forward, it's all I watched for a good 5 or 6 years. It was the only thing that I felt connected with me. The music, the culture, the guests, the movies they promoted. It was cool. For original MTV VJs, I can name them. Can you? All right, we're gonna go Martha Quinn. Martha Quinn, who only got the job. Martha Quinn was an intern for Tori. Oh God, I can't think of her name. Legendary New York City rock and roll DJ chick. Howard used to have her on. Howard loved her. She was like she worked at the station that Howard was on back when he was at WNW. I can't remember her name. Anyway. Martha Quinn was her intern, and she was supposed to go audition for this new thing called MTV and couldn't make it. So she sent Martha Quinn to apologize in person that she couldn't show up. And they cast Martha Quinn on the spot. They're like, yeah, you know what? You're more what we're looking for. She's like 33. You're like 19. We're going to go with you. So it was, who was it? It was Martha Quinn. It was Alan Hunter. It was Mark Goodman. It was Nina Blackwood. It was J.J. Johnson. And it was, I don't know, that's it. Was there more? I mean, later there was Adam Curry. But Alan Hunter was the first one, right? It was Mark Goodman, Alan Hunter, J.J. Jackson, Martha Quinn, Nina Blackwood. That's my answer. I'm going with that as my answer. All right, on this day in 1981, MTV begins. On this day in 1993, the Great Mississippi and Missouri River floods of 1993 reached their peak. I don't know if this is something that me and Jeff Ballard have in common. The Mississippi River, the Great Midwestern floods of 1993. I know me and the boys, we drove all the way to Moline, or was Moline? Was that for that? Wait, I don't know. We drove somewhere because there was a fraternity my friends were involved in. They were doing sandbags. We did the sandbags. That was really bad, man. I know that it's probably something that I'm more familiar with because I was there in the Midwest at the time, but that entire Mississippi River became another Great Lake right in the middle of like farmland and shit. That was messed up. Witch Kitty says Kurt Loder was an original. No. Kurt Loder came like 5 years later. Kurt Loder was a Rolling Stone editor. He worked at Rolling Stone, and then they brought him in when they didn't develop MTV News until probably the mid 1980s. Then Kurt Loder was brought in, but yeah, no, he was not. Let's see. Peter says MTV was cool when it started. Well, it ain't cool now. We'll give Peter credit on that. It certainly ain't cool now. As a matter of fact, it's like space junk. MTV has nothing. MTV, man, I'm telling you, they squandered everything. These brands that were so important that could have actually, here's what they did. They got greedy. What MTV decided to do was they tried to, well, they didn't adopt a digital presence when they should have. That's why I say when you look at the history of what actually made MTV go away, it's because they didn't adopt a digital presence. Sports Illustrated did the same thing. Sports Illustrated got passed up by, ESPN and then things like Barstool or whatever. MTV for youth culture never really invested or thought that digital distribution or digital content was ever going to take off the way it did. So then and at that point, when they had to make that decision, MTV was run by a bunch of cigar chopping dudes in suits who worked for Warner Brothers. They were a major, major global thing. We ain't changing. Why fix it if it ain't broke? There's that attitude. Now MTV is junk. MTV, if you had said in 1998, after say MTV had just maneuvered through 3 different generations, they went through late boomers with the early stuff, and then Gen X was certainly a big part of it, and then early millennials, when they started doing the fucking Carson Daly shit, they owned 3 generations of Americans. Why did they stop? They never were able to connect with the next generation. Why? Because they weren't available digitally. They stayed on cable networks. Anyway. All right. That was on this day. MTV in 81 begins. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The Great Mississippi floods. Those were bad. What else do we have here? Oh, on this day in 2007, another Mississippi River story. A bridge spanning the Mississippi River in Minneapolis collapses during the evening rush hour, killing 13 people and injuring 45. Man, I remember just glued to this event. I'd come home from work, and it's happened like, I don't know, I think back then, like Anderson Cooper came on at 7 or whatever the news was on. And this was the breaking news, that a highway collapsed on itself in the middle of like downtown, the busiest highway in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And they had live cameras. And there's people talking on the ground. They had great coverage of it almost immediately. In the image of those cars underneath sand, there were cars it was just horrific. I'll never forget that. That's the kind of shit that I always tell us. We can't control it, okay? We all go through this life thinking that we have some semblance of control. We really don't. We can control the immediate things that are front and center. And even then, sometimes we can't control it. But as far as just life in general, you can't control it. These people got off work, got in their cars, started driving home on an expressway that they drive home on every single day. And it wasn't like a drunk driver hit them, or it wasn't like they did something wrong. No, the highway just collapsed on them. That's how quick. So stop with your stupid beefs. Stop being angry at one another. Stop the people that you love. Let them know that you love them. Life is fleeting. It is over instantly. We drop dead all the time of heart attacks and aneurysms and shit like that. And on this day, in 2007, some dude just driving home, 14 of them actually, 145 were injured just driving home, and the entire world collapses. Man, that's, as Ferris Bueller said, life comes at you quick. Is that what he said? Or did he say fast? He might have said fast. All right, that's going to do it for At the Seedly on this day. Let's move on to quarter two. How about some birthdays, people? Want 'em. They claim it's their birthday. Want 'em. Who am I to argue? Born on this day in 1933, Dom DeLuise. That's a gay dude, right? He's gay. Didn't you always think Dom DeLuise was gay? I always thought Dom DeLuise was gay. I know. His kid was Peter DeLuise. Doesn't prove to me that old Dom DeLuise, he just seemed a little, I'm just saying, even for an actor in the 70s, he seemed a little, he wore scarves, like he wore scarves and little berets. And I don't know, I always thought Dom DeLuise was a closet, which is unfortunate, because wouldn't it have been nice for Dom DeLuise to be around now where he could just live his life open and free? I don't know that he wasn't, but I just think he was living that way. Dom DeLuise, born on this day in 1933. Born on this day in 1939, Terry Kaiser, ladies and gentlemen. Terry Kaiser, born on this day in 1939. You know who Terry Kaiser is? Does that name? Okay, sure, I'll show you. Sure, why not? I'll show you who Terry Kaiser is if you must. You don't have to get huffy about it. I'm going to show him to you. Here you go. This is Terry Kaiser. We all know Terry Kaiser. But I learned something incredibly upsetting. There you go. Terry Kaiser. He's Barney. Look at him. He's Barney from Weekend at Bernie's. I want my friends to take a look at old Barney in this picture, because I got to tell you, it was shocking to me this morning. I did a little research on this. I'm like, Terry Kaiser. I knew it was Barney. I go, that's Barney. I wonder if there's any fun facts about Barney. And then I just looked at him and I saw his date of birth. And then I saw when this movie was made. I've spent the last, 30 years of my life thinking Barney was old. Thinking that Barney was like some old man that they had. Oh, he died of natural causes. Bernie's younger than I am. Barney in Weekend at Bernie's is only 51 years old. And look at him there. He's dead. And it bothers me, because I'm like, well, I was, 19, 20 when this movie came out. I'm like, well, that's just what dudes who are 51 look like to someone who's 19. And then I went, fuck, that's why my kid says I am so old. My kid says that to me a lot. My kid, he knows it doesn't bother me, because it really doesn't, but he thinks it's funny. He'll just look at me. We'll be watching TV and he'll just be staring at me. And my 15-year-old will go, hey. And I'm like, what? He'll go, you just look so old right now. I'm like, what? Stop it. Why are you saying that? You do. You look old. Like, okay. He's a dick. It means he's funny. He's trying to be funny, and we fuck with each other like guys do. But, it's like, God, man, doesn't hurt me. It doesn't hurt me. It just makes me go, God damn, I am totally not to the outside world what I think I am inside. I mean, if you're like me, I am shocked all the time when I catch myself in the mirror. I'm like, who's that guy? I'm like, what? What happened there? Dude was like 51. Bernie, Terry Kaiser, happy birthday. Born on this day in 1942. Here's I want to say a little something about this guy, because I covered his death. It was big. I covered his death for a radio station, and I had to spend an entire day just interviewing hippies and stuff like that. And it was kind of fun, but I didn't appreciate this person. I didn't think that this person was worth my time. I was very closed-minded about it. And then as I grew older and became more and more exposed to this person's legacy and this person's work, I still didn't like it. I'm still not like a fan of the art, if you will. But man, I'm a fan of the dude. The dude just seemed righteous. The dude just seemed so cool and so nice. And you could never have a bad time if Jerry Garcia was there. I am not a deadhead. I know, a couple of their songs, right? Sure. I would say the hits, but they didn't really have any hits other than Touch of Grey. And it's not like they were, on rock radio all throughout. The Grateful Dead had a cult following, and they had some like a couple of their songs. I couldn't even name them, But a couple of their songs are fine. I don't hate them, but I was never into like that culture. I was like, yeah, Deadhead culture. So I never had a fair amount of respect for Jerry Garcia. But as I got older, you realize, well, just because it doesn't appeal to me, it certainly does appeal to other people. What am I going to go to war with all those other people? No, just accept that people don't like the same things all the time. But as I say, over the years, I've seen interviews and biographies and documentaries, and I've read books about. I love reading books about rock eras gone by, and Jerry Garcia just seems like a freaking dude, man. Just exactly what you'd want him to be. It's like, hey brother, how you doing? Come sit down. Hey man, you don't need to get so angry. Let's have or whatever. He just seemed like such an easygoing, loving, decent dude who just didn't cause trouble for anybody. Just, I guess he's got like maybe an ex-wife or something, but whatever. All I'm saying is my understanding of him as a person now supersedes my appreciation of him as an artist. Thank you. Happy birthday, Jerry Garcia. Born on this day in 1942. Died on this day in 1995. Born on this day, 1949. I gave him a mention today. Born on this day in 1949. Jim Carroll. I believe these are the people who've died. These are the people who've died. Shout out Jim Carroll. Say that all the time. Jim Carroll's a cool guy. He's an interesting guy. He's a guy who's got stories, and he was blessed with an ability to put those stories down on paper. Jim Carroll is maybe he's most commonly and popularly known as the focus of the Leonardo DiCaprio film, The Basketball Diaries. In the film, The Basketball Diaries, Leonardo DiCaprio portrayed the very real Jim Carroll. Jim Carroll would, of course, grow up to be a very highly regarded poet, punk rock musician, Andy Warhol associate. He was there at the factory with Andy Warhol. He led a very interesting life, and he did all of this stuff while simultaneously being one of the East Coast's best high school basketball players. It was just an interesting life. There's drug addiction in the life of Jim Carroll. There's exceptional elite level basketball play in Jim Carroll's life. There is gay prostitution in Jim Carroll's life. And then there's immense success as an artist and as a poet and all that. Jim Carroll, born on this day in 1949. I don't know if he's cool, but like I say, Jim Carroll's interesting. He's an interesting person. His writing is beautiful. I love his writing. Man. That song, The People Who Died, that I quote all the time, these are the people who've died. That's probably his most popular song. It's just him listing all of the people in his life that have died and how they died and how rough it is where he comes from. And it's just all about his friends who were killed in different ways in Hell's Kitchen. But he's so much more than that. Like I said, that's probably that's probably the entry level, but his writing, his poetry, his words are really terrific. Born on this day in 1949, Jim Carroll, American poet, author, and punk rock musician. Born on this day in 1958, Michael Penn. Michael Penn, you got to have a one hit. You may as have, Michael Penn has a one hit. He's a one-hit wonder, if you will. He's also the son, or not son. He's the son of Leo Penn and Eileen Ryan. But he's the brother of Sean Penn and Chris Penn, and he's Michael Penn. He is the oldest of the Penn brothers. He's been married to, I just love Michael Penn. Like, everything about Michael Penn I think is cool. Like, even if you have a problem with Sean Penn, whatever, you don't know anything about Michael Penn. Michael Penn's pretty cool. Michael Penn and Amy Mann, who I've had a crush on since like 1986. Michael Penn and Amy Mann have been married now for like 30 years, and they're like one of the cutest Hollywood couples you could ever imagine. He sits there and plays guitar, and she sings with that gorgeous voice. All right, let me help you out here. Amy Mann is a siren, like a sea siren. Her voice is so beautiful, and it's so mesmerizing. She's Amy Mann is probably most famous from her band Till Tuesday in the 1980s. Remember her? Voices carry. She's got a gorgeous voice. Michael Penn, our birthday boy, he is most famous for his 1989 hit No Myth, which is a great song. If you got to have a one-hit wonder, that's a pretty good one to have. You can hang your hat on that 40 years later and go, yeah, I had one hit, but here it is. It ain't exactly like Chumbawamba. You know, Chumbawamba's like, what's your one hit? And they're like, I get knocked down and I get up again. I like a whiskey drink. I like a vodka. Yeah, you know what I mean? No, Michael Penn's like, what's your hit? And Michael Penn's like, well, there's only one of them. But it's this fucking epic Springsteenian type. That's a good song. No Myth is a good song. Cool wordplay in the song as well. Happy birthday to Michael Penn, born on this day in 1958. So she says it's time she goes. I could sing No Myth, but wanted to be sure I know. Good acoustics. She hopes we can be friends. Born on this day. Oh, you know what? Here, I totally screwed this up. I wanted to mention this. We started with Jerry Garcia. We are about to go on a run of rock and music people that is just crazy. All of these people were born on this day. Jerry Garcia was born on this day in 1942. Jim Carroll was born on this day in 1949. We just talked about Michael Penn, born on this day in 1958. How about born on this day in 1959? Joe Elliott. Love bites. Love bleeds. Okay, I can't really do Def Leppard songs, but Fleppard, man. Fleppard. I love Fleppard. Fleppard. Let me tell you something about Fleppard. Fleppard was a band that I didn't love back when everybody else was loving Fleppard. I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. You know, I was just like, what? Yeah, it's catchy. It's catchy, but I'm not really into this. This seems very processed American cheese kind of rock and roll. I just wasn't really into Fleppard. I'll tell you, over the years, I have become a crazy Fleppard head. Def Leppard is cool, man. And here's how I've seen Def Leppard like 8 times in the last 20 years, just because they're always on these like really cool bills with other bands that I want to see. You know, it's like, yeah, man, I'll totally go see REO Speedwagon and Journey. Who else is on that? Def Leppard. I'm like, yeah, I'll go see that. I've seen Def Leppard over the years on bills with a bunch of other bands, and I'll tell you, yeah, man, I'd love to go see Tom Kiefer and Great White. Who else is playing? Oh, Def Leppard? Shit, yeah. Def Leppard has actually gotten bigger within the last 10 years, but there was a period of time in like the late 90s and all that where they were, you could catch them at some county fairs. Def Leppard is awesome, is my point. Mikey D checking in with Amy Man is delightful. He knows. She's such a doll. She's a doll. She's probably a woman in her 60s. My point is this. She's got a beautiful voice, and she's got a really elegant and sophisticated way of carrying herself. And if you ever seen an interview with her, she's got a touch of the crazy eye. Like when she lists, I don't know. All I can tell you is I'm slightly obsessed with Amy Man. I've been digging her for, 40 years almost. So we'll move on. Witch Kitty says, my daughter's mom was friends with Jerry's kid. Apparently, he did heroin every day, which is why he was so laid back. That'll do it. Sure thing. Let's see here. What else do we have? Joe Elliott. He's cool. Okay, so remember, all of these musicians, Jerry Garcia, Jim Carroll, Michael Penn, Joe Elliott of Def Leppard. How about born on this day in 1960? Chuck D. Public Enemy, Chuck D. By the way, speaking of, happy birthday, Chuck. You're cool. You're still militant, but you're cool. Speaking of Chuck D and Public Enemy, you guys catching Flavor Flav at the Olympics? Flavor Flav is out there at the Olympics. There was a video that went viral, which caused me to do an investigation, which absolutely blew my mind. Flavor Flav, I don't know what he's doing out there. There's some association. It should probably be the lead of why I'm talking about this. But anyway, there was a video that went viral in one of the hotels in the Olympic Village. there's this grand lobby, and there's a piano in the lobby, and like many hotels have a piano. And there a viral video got circulated with Flavor Flav. He walked into the lobby, he sat down behind this grand piano, and he just started playing like classical music, like just perfect classical music. And it's Flavor Flav, and that's why it went viral. So I'm like, what the fuck is that? So I do a quick little Google search about Flavor Flav, and my mind is blown. Do you know that he is expert on multiple instruments? Like, I think of Flavor Flav as just the guy that's, hype dancing and clowning with the big clock around his neck and the big gold grill. 911's a joke of your town. By 5 years old, Flavor Flav had self-taught himself on a piano and was at prodigy level at 5 years old. He plays drums. They say, as well as anybody in any rock band. He plays guitar. Flavor Flav apparently got some skills, man. What is it? He says he sponsored the women's water polo team. That's what it is. Adam. Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. Flavor Flav is sponsoring the women's water polo team. But man, I had no idea that Flavor Flav was this multi-instrumentalist, and I had to be introduced to it in a viral video of him just playing piano in the lobby of a Olympic hotel. Let's see here. Who else do we have? Chuck D. All right. Remember, here are the musicians, going through them again: Jerry Garcia, Jim Carroll, Michael Penn, Joe Elliott, and Chuck D, all born on this day. How about we add Susie Gardner, one of the original Riot girls? Yeah, I'm sure Courtney Love takes all the spotlight, but L7 was out there slugging it out, man. Susie Gardner. You gotta give a little shout out to the early 90s Riot girls. L7. What else do we have here? Born on this day. Okay, there you go. We'll keep going. We are keeping going. We got Jerry Garcia born on this day, Jim Carroll, Michael Penn, Joe Elliott, Chuck D, Susie Gardner of L7. And how about Coolio? Coolio born on this day. Good Lord. He did. I don't know what else to say about him, but he's another musical guy, so he keeps the string going. Born on this day in 1968, Dan Donegan. Now, who's Dan Donegan? If you're a metalhead, you probably know who Dan Donegan is, or if you're an aficionado of the guitar, you may know who Dan Donegan is. He's a very highly regarded guitar player. But I'm here to tell you, Dan Donegan, who is the guitar player and founder of Disturbed, which is a great rock metal band. I think Draymond is one of the great frontmen. I'm not going to go into like why I think Disturbed is so good, because once I reveal that it's because they're from the South Side of Chicago, that I lose all credibility. But I'm just saying, Disturbed is a great band. Dan Donegan, where'd he go? Marist. I think he's a Marist boy. Where's Witch Kitty? Do we have Witch Kitty in here? Because I want to see if Witch Kitty remembers this. Dan Donegan, of course, would form Disturbed and become a big rock star and all of this kind of stuff. But back in the day when I was working with, and I don't know if I was working with Witch Kitty yet. Witch Kitty is Rob. He was in a band that I was a manager and contributor to and all that stuff. I managed a whole bunch of bands back in the day. That's how Rob and I became friends initially. But I'm wondering if he remembers Dan Donegan and Mike Wingren's band. These are two guys who went on to be in Disturbed. But back when we were out there slugging it out, and this is why I don't think it was with Daughter Judy. Not Daughter Judy. Wally. Wally is the band that I managed with Rob. I don't think it was with Wally. I think it was with a band called Striving Desire. So I was managing this band, Striving Desire. It doesn't matter because Rob, Witch Kitty, he might remember this anyway. So it was Striving Desire, and we were on this bill with these other local late 80s, early 90s South Side of Chicago metal bands, and we thought that we had made it. We were playing a place called, this was the Blue Note, and we thought we had made it because we were on the bill with Vandal. But there were two bands back then. That you wanted to be on the bill with. Myth. You guys remember Myth? I'm sure Rob remembers Myth. Myth and Vandal. They ruled. Oh, what was the other one? It was Myth There was one other one. Anyway, we got on a bill with Vandal. And I got to know the guys in a little bit, and then later when I would work in Chicago radio, I got to know them a little bit as well. But I didn't even realize until about 10 years ago that Vandal was essentially Disturbed, that it was Dan Donegan, the guy who I remember when he was an old, not old, a young, like long-haired rock kid. Here, I want to show you this because I found this. I couldn't believe I found this. But this is Dan Donegan of Disturbed back when I first became aware of him and first started. There we go. And first, this is Vandal. This is just for me. You guys might not even enjoy this, but man, this was my life. This was my life back in 1989. This is actually 1991, but this was my life back in these days, just in these kinds of clubs all the time with just bands and musicians, seeing bands. And this is Dan Donegan. You're going to see Dan Donegan play guitar here. He's the lead guitar here. This was Vandal. This was about as good as it got on the south side of Chicago.
Some people don't want to be a part of what's going on tonight. To them, they can fuck off. Because tonight, we're playing with your life.
Can I also point out, just for the record, I didn't even like this kind of music, but I was booking bands and I had to, and this was selling in the blue collar south side of Chicago. So, All right, here you go. Here's Dan. Look at that handsome son of a bitch. 1989, man, or 1991, I guess, in this case. Look at him. He's up there. He's shredding on a guitar. He's got the rock hair. He's good looking. Only a psychic would know that he would go on to be in one of the biggest metal bands of the last 20 years. But man, here it is, Dan Donegan on his birthday. That's some macho rock star shit right there, man. Woo, he's out there. He's peacocking. He's got the good hair flip. Dan Donegan of Disturbed, born on this day in 1968. Also born on this day in 1973. How about Witch Kitty? Okay, what did Rob say? Witch Kitty, not Wally. We got Chips Enough. That's right, Enough's Enough. That was the other really big one. But they were almost even bigger. They had almost, Enough's Enough had like broken out of the South Side scene. Like, I don't think we were thinking of playing with Enough's Enough at like, an outdoor venue. We wanted to play like Michelle's with Wasp or not Wasp, Vandal. Those were if you remember, those were our goals back in the day. Although I don't remember exactly what our plan was for Wally. I don't think we had a plan for Wally. Wait, here's the plan. Here's the plan that I had for Wally. Rob right here wrote amazing songs. And I remember thinking, yeah, let's lean on that. Let's just do that. He's a songwriter. Rob is, of course, Witch Kitty. Witch Kitty is his new band in San Francisco. Yeah, Vandal, come on. See, here's the thing, though. I don't think, Rob, because you're a little bit younger than me, and you were like sort of one of the last bands that I was working with Frank and Tony and those guys. I don't even think Tony was in it. I think the Vandal stuff, I think that was in the Strive and Desire years when the band was called Strive and Desire. They were doing hair metal. Did a really cool version of a really badass cover version of Carly Simon's You're So Vain, like did like this really cool metal version, and we thought we were so clever and creative, and then we found out that like Faster Pussycat had done it first, and we're like, what? Oh. Anyway, fun times. Vandal, that's right, big South Side band back in the day. Tempest Bledsoe, born on this day in 1973. Well, she was Vanessa. She was Vanessa from The Cosby Show. Born on this day in 1979, Jason Momoa, American actor, director, and producer. I am, of course, out when it comes to stating how proudly I am a Momoa-sexual. I ain't gay, but when I see Jason Momoa, I get it. I understand why some people are. All right, that's going to do it for birthdays. Let's talk about people who've died. These are the people who've died who've died. These are the people who've died. Shout out Jim Carroll on this, his birthday. We already covered that. Dead on this day in 1903, Calamity Jane. She was an American frontierswoman. She was a scout. Do you guys know Calamity Jane? I didn't. You know why? Because I didn't grow up in the 50s. I think if you grew up in the 1950s, she was a character in half a dozen Westerns that were on TV then. I didn't. I grew up in the 80s. We had hospital shows. We had lawyer shows. Then not a lot of frontierswomen, although I guess Dr. Quinn, but I didn't watch that. Little House on the Prairie? I didn't really watch that either. Anyway, point is this. Calamity Jane was a frontierswoman. She ran around with Buffalo Bill. Let's call him Cody. Wild Bill. No, I'm sorry. She hung around with Wild Bill Hickok. That's it. She hung around with him. Look, all I know about Calamity Jane is the HBO series Deadwood. And here's what I'll just turn this conversation about Calamity Jane into a promotion for the HBO show Deadwood. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's David Milch. I mean, that ought to tell you enough. You ought to be like, wait, how come I don't know this? I cannot stand Westerns. It's not that I can't stand them. It's just that it's got to be really good to get my attention because I just feel like Westerns have been done to death and a lot of them are really bad and predictable, but on occasion, some are good. Deadwood is amazing. Deadwood isn't so much a Western as it is about the founding of the city of Deadwood and what discovering gold does to a population on the rise. It was incredible. And of course, it was littered, the show Deadwood, with real historical figures, the real people who founded and settled Deadwood, of which Calamity Jane was one. And based on how she behaved in Deadwood, I think it's safe to say, she's in hell. Calamity Jane is in hell. The woman who played Calamity Jane on Deadwood, unbelievable performance. I mean, just, if you've ever seen Deadwood, how that woman didn't win an award every single season, I don't get it. What are they looking for in an actress? That woman was amazing as Calamity Jane in Deadwood. And here's how I know she's amazing. Because that very same actress who played the alcoholic, self-centered, emotional train wreck, violent, crazy, probable lesbian, dirty lesbian, she didn't bathe ever, Calamity Jane. The same woman who played her played the ultra sophisticated and smart attorney for the Sons of Anarchy in Sons of Anarchy. Remember the hot chick, the woman who was like super well put together and you're like, Jesus, this biker gang has this attorney? That was her. Same actress. Same freaking actress as Calamity Jane. She's an amazing actress. That's range because Calamity Jane was like a homeless person. Like a psychotic homeless person. Anyway, there you go. Calamity Jane, we're putting her in hell. Dead on this day in 1903. Dead on this day in 1981, Patty Chayefsky. I'm going to talk about Patty Chayefsky as I am a fan of the written word, and there is no better screenwriter in the history of screenwriting, especially for television and movies, quite like Patty Chayefsky. Now, that name, well, that's a mouthful, isn't it? You probably think, Patty Chayefsky, what is he, like Tolstoy, like Dostoevsky? No. He's not a Russian guy. He's from Brooklyn. He's a dude from Brooklyn with like a fancy Russian name. He's a Russian Jew, grew up in New York City, would go on to Hollywood and become a screenwriter. I'm going to tell you just 3 things that he did. He died very young. He's a genius, by the way. There is absolutely nobody in the world of filmmaking who, when you say Patty Chayefsky, they don't go, oh yeah, well, he's like the best ever. He's a screenwriter. He wrote words. He created things. He did 3 things I'm going to bring to your attention. First and foremost, he did a movie called Marty. Have you ever seen Marty? Marty is one of the most moving, beautiful pieces of film that has ever been made. Now, maybe that description makes you think, it sounds like a boring love story. Oh, it is. It is not boring, but it is a love story. And it's the most unique and interesting love story you've ever seen. It's a love story about ugly people. It is a love story about basically, you know what it is? Here it is. Patty Chayefsky wrote this back in 1955, okay? Here's what it is. Marty is Love on the Spectrum. I don't know if you've ever seen Love on the Spectrum, I happen to love on the Spectrum. Marty is the story of Ernest Borgnine. Ernest Borgnine plays Marty. He's a 34-year-old guy. He's a butcher, and he lives in New York City, and he's with his mom, and he's socially awkward. He's on the spectrum. They didn't have that kind of talk or terminology back when this movie was made, but that's how Ernest Borgnine is playing Marty. A little slow, a little awkward, a little on the spectrum. And he's resigned to just spending his entire life alone, and he meets this girl, Clara. Is that her name? He meets her at a dance. He's forced to go to this dance by his mother, who's like, "You're going to be a loser, Marty." And so Marty goes to the dance and he meets Clara. And Clara's ugly. Clara's plain. Clara's crying because Clara got stood up by her blind date. Her blind date took one look at her and went, "I'm out of here." Marty doesn't know what to do. So Marty starts talking to her because she's crying. Why? Because Marty's a beautiful person. Anyway, it's about that. And it's about how everybody tells Marty, "Your girlfriend's ugly. You need to break up with her. And that's what you can get." And Marty has a speech at the very end. If you're not heartbroken during Marty's speech at the phone booth to his friends, just Patty Chayefsky. That's motherfucking Patty Chayefsky. Dude's a genius. Hospital is another one I'll bring to your attention. The Hospital is a movie that was made in 1972. It won every award under the sun. Hospital is the reason that we have so many hospital TV shows. And it was the first time that we had a look inside what was really going on inside a major urban hospital. It was the first time we saw the blood in the emergency room and the fast-moving camera action and all that stuff. Patty Chayefsky invented all of that, and the rapid-fire dialogue that is not only specific to being an emergency room person. I mean, it was real. It was real dialogue. He was very, very big on that. Everything had to be real. And then the last one I'll mention here, Patty Chayefsky, an absolute genius in my view. Patty Chayefsky did Network, where he predicted what we have with fractional media today. He predicted essentially the ability to have one demagogue in front of a microphone. He didn't predict it. I mean, we've seen aspects of this. Kazan did it back with Andy Griffith in A Face in the Crowd. It was the same kind of thing. But Chayefsky made it bigger. Chayefsky made it into like a network, like an entire network whose goal was to manipulate you for no other reason than advertising dollars. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. That's Patty Chayefsky. All right, Patty Chayefsky, born on this day in 1981. I am putting him in heaven. I am putting anybody who sees that scene in Marty, where Marty's like, "I love her and she loves me and I don't care what you think." Oh, that scene. That dude's going to heaven. That dude is going to heaven. All right, Patty Chayefsky, dead on this day in 1981. Dead on this day in 2001, Corey Springer. How about Corey Springer? How sad is that, right? Remember Corey Springer? Played for the Minnesota Vikings, dropped dead in training camp. Corey Springer, the whole reason why, your high school kid can't play double sessions or whatever, have to be separated by 2 hours, and, if it's a certain temperature, they can't do it. Those are all good things. Corey Springer was a Minnesota Viking, and he was at training camp on this day, or yesterday, actually. He died the next day. And he dropped from heat stroke and then would die. Corey Springer. Put him in heaven. What a sad way to go. That on this day in 2020, someone I've had beef with for years and years. And you people think, why would Pugs have random beef with this guy? Well, I'll tell you, dead on this day in 2020, Wilford Brimley. Yeah, I got beef with Brimley. He's dead. I should let it go, I know. But hey, look, I told you at the start of the show, I'm just going to fucking rant. Brimley's always pissed me off. You know why? People, it's the principle of the thing. Brimley, why do people like Brimley? People are like, "Oh, look at him. He's so nice." No, he's not. He's a dick. He has always been a dick. His character is that he's a pissed off old man. He's like, that's his whole vibe. And yet somehow he became an American icon for a number of years. Wilford Brimley, that dude's a dick. All right, so I did have a run-in with him once. Okay, so maybe this does all come from a bad experience. Wilford Brimley was at the Chicago Film Festival. I was covering it. By the way, this is when I covered, this was the Apollo 13 year, where I got one-on-one private interviews with both Ron Howard and Tom Hanks. Thank you very much. Just me and Tom Hanks alone in a room for like 10 minutes, just talking about NASA and stuff. That's one for the bucket list. That's one for the grandkid on the knee. So Wilford Brimley was at this thing, and I was waiting to talk to Wilford Brimley, and he never came out of the room. And so I sat down, and I was like, okay, so I guess he's not coming out. And I just sat down, and I was writing in my notebook because back then we didn't have laptops or anything. So I'm writing in my notebook, and I see Wilford Brimley come out of the store. The people waiting to interview him had dispersed because he said he was done. He wasn't coming out. And then I'm the only one there, and he comes out of the room. And I'm like, oh, Mr. Brimley, how you doing? I'm with the Kevin Matthews Show. Can I get a quick word? And he like barked something mean at me and went back in the room and slammed the door. So fuck you, Brimley. We'll go, Wilford Brimley. Dude, do you know that I just talked to Tom Hanks and Ron Howard and your big Brimley is big timing me? Are you fucking go eat some oats, you piece of shit? Good. All right. So there you go. Wilford Brimley's going to hell, that guy. Barney says Corey Stringer dying got a Fedra banned. Fun fact. I don't know if it's true or not, but I allow a certain birth for Barney. Barney, yeah, that doesn't seem. So many things I could probably argue with Barney about being true or not true, but that seems like one I'm gonna believe Barney. I think Barney might have some knowledge there. Don't worry, Barney. We got beef, but we ain't got Brimley beef. It ain't the same thing. You've always been respectful to me in person. All right, let's see here. That's going to do it, folks. That's everybody who's dead. Brimley died on this day in 2020. Probably the COVID. I don't know what got him. 2020, Brimley dies. You got to figure COVID, right? That's COVID times. All right, quarter four. Here we are, folks. I'll remind you once again that this show runs on your gratuities. If you appreciate this kind of talk radio, tip now, because I'm telling you, we're moving on to the fourth quarter, and there might be some things I say that you people just don't want to hear. But we're going to have some fun. Scroll is down there. You can tip the show. I'm going to put this up. Here you go. Thank you so much, folks. You're beautiful. Barney, that was Jeff Ballard says, was it from diabetes? Yeah, Wilford Brimley, diabetes. Probably something to do with his colon from all the Quaker oats he's been eating. Seriously, that guy's whole vibe, it wasn't a warm, cuddly vibe. That dude's entire vibe from, the time I knew him. And by the way, he started playing an 80-year-old at like 35. That's why Wilford Brimley lived so long. People like me, I'm like, this guy has been in my life for 30 years. And I swear the first time I saw him, he was 75. No, he was just one of them dudes. You know what he's like? You know who Brimley's like? Brimley's like Vigoda. Remember Vigoda? Remember Abe Vigoda? Abe Vigoda was like the original Brimley. It's like, when is this guy going to die? This guy has been 90 since I'm 5 years old. How is he still alive? I'm 40 now. He's got to be at least 120 by my math. Vigoda. Why? Because when Vigoda played Tessio, was it Tessio, in The Godfather, he was only like 30 years old, but for some reason, Vigoda looked like he was 60. It was, hard living back then, I guess. So Vigoda, and then Vigoda plays Fish on TV. And I'm like 5 years old, Barney Miller, and then the spinoff Fish. It was awesome. Fish was awesome. I don't know what was going on in that house. You guys remember the show Fish? He was a cop. He was a cop from Barney Miller. But then Fish got his own show. We got to learn what was going on at Fish's house. Remember that? There was some kind of like child welfare scam going on, I think. I don't know. It's like they had like 10 kids, but none of them were their own. And they were all like taken in by the state. And they were all like, cashing checks for each one of them. And that's what Fish was into. Fish was into some kind of welfare scam. Foster family scamming. That's what he and his wife. But anyway, he was only like, 50. You not even 50. That's what I think he was. He was probably only like 40 when he was playing Fish. And you remember how Fish on, I got to know now, how old was Fish on Barney Miller? I can't be distracted. But you remember how they treated Fish on Barney Miller? Like, let him sleep. He's an old man. No, he's not. Hal Linden was older than Fish. Hal Linden was Barney Miller. Hal Linden was older than Fish. And yet Fish, for some reason, Abe Vigoda was like playing the 70-year-old police detective when in fact he was only like 40. I hate that. All right. Anyway, Brimley was like that. Brimley was always old. Do you know that Brimley in Cocoon, Wilford Brimley in Cocoon was 19 years old? That might not be true. All right, let's go. Let's get into all of the things that are happening in the world today. These are the big stories. Let's start out with the big prisoner exchange. Hey, 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 hey. What did we give up? It doesn't matter. We got him home, right? What is the point here? The point is, let's get Evan Gershkovich. Evan Gershkovich, who is the Wall Street Journal reporter, who last month we reported that he had been found guilty on trial there in Moscow, sentenced to 16 years of hard labor. He's been there for like, I don't know, a year and a half, something like that. That's Gershkovich. He's the Wall Street Journal reporter. He got released today. We're all very happy about that. You can't not be happy about that. You're an asshole if you are. You know what else makes you an asshole? It makes you an asshole if you're like, if your response to that is, it's about time. Why did Brittany Griner go? If that's you, you're a dick. Shut the fuck up. Just shut up, man. Just be happy for these people in this family. They got their guy back. We got the American who was just sentenced to 16 years out. Stop it. Live in that moment. Give him at least like a day or so before you start doing your whataboutism nonsense. We also got Paul Whelan back. Paul Whelan was a contractor. Now, Paul had been there for 5 years. That's a long time. Paul didn't offer us anything. There was nothing there for Paul. Like Evan Gershkovich. Here's how it works. You got to be of some value, whether officially of value or of, in the court of public opinion, there is going to be a tide that supports you. So no matter what, as a government, you have to do the will of the people. We saw that with Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner was made the number one priority. Let's get her out, no matter who was there. Paul Whelan was there a lot longer than Brittany Griner, and they just went, Brittany's first. Why? Because she was a celebrity. Because Twitter, because social media, because the world at large, who were, supporters of women's basketball and Brittany Griner and all that, they came together. And it was bad for the government. And the government's like, fuck, all right, they're forcing our hand. All right, let's get Brittany back. Meanwhile, Paul Whelan's family is sitting there. I believe Trevor Reed was still over there at this point. And now a year and a half ago, we got Evan Gershkovich. Evan Gershkovich's a Wall Street Journal reporter. That's why he's important, because journalists will constantly be keeping that in the headlines. But once again, Paul Whelan, he's still there. Paul Whelan's got nothing to offer. What do you do, Paul? I drove a truck. Really? What are you doing here? Work for a contractor. They paid me like 5 times what I would have gotten paid to drive a truck. I don't know that's what he was doing, but it was something like that. It was something that wasn't in the public eye. Here's what he wasn't. He wasn't a big famous WNBA athlete, and he wasn't a senior writer for the Wall Street Journal. So Paul Whelan had to sit there for 5 years. We're not going to complain about that because any number of administrations on both sides could have gotten Paul Whelan back or made him a priority, but they didn't until now. We got Whelan back and we got Gershkovich. And they're back. I don't know about Whelan. I haven't heard about Whelan yet. Gershkovich is official. He's been handed over. Now, here's the thing with this trade. Do you guys have any idea what this is like? This is like a crazy baseball trade. Seriously, that's what this is. Like 27 countries and 59 players have been involved in this cash swap. Player to be named. It's crazy. It's like that. The Turkey's involved. Germany's involved. America's involved. Russia's involved. Everybody's involved. They're like, hey, while we're doing this, I want my guy. And if you give me my guy, I'll give them their guy. And then they'll owe you. See, it's like that. It's like some crazy, complicated thing. Bottom line, we got our people back. That's good. Welcome home, Paul Whelan and Evan Gershkovich. Even though, and I'm not going to do this now, but maybe should their stories bubble back up in a few days, maybe then I will talk about how I have some questions about what both of them were actually doing there. But that's not apropos of nothing. That is just apropos of nothing. I've been pretty upfront about this. I would feel the exact same way about somebody who revealed that they had spent time in Thailand. I would be like, whoa, how'd you go to Thailand? What's down there? Do you surf? No, man, I don't surf. What are you going to Thailand for? What is it's just beautiful. And, it's just a really free and open culture. Okay, you said too much. Never mind. Same thing. Somebody's like, they went to Russia. I'm like, what are you doing in Russia? How much time you spend in Washington, D.C.? And you're also going to Russia? Can I check your passport? How many? Where have you got? See, anybody fucking around in Russia these days, I think there's probably a good chance that they have, at one point or another, had a beer with a CIA agent. Not saying they're recruited, and I'm not saying that they're actual operatives. I'm just saying it seems weird to go to Russia. It's just as weird as it is to go to Thailand. That's all I'm saying. We got them back, though, so that's a good thing. So it's a good day for America. It's a good day for Americans. Not sure what we had to give up. We gave up, like, Victor the Monster. Remember that? That's who we gave up for Brittany Griner. That was like a 1-for-1. that was like a 1-for-1 deal. But we gave up a big one for Brittany Griner, right? We gave up that arms dealer. I don't know what his name is. What did I call him? Tony the Beast. Something. He was like somebody like that, like Ivan the Monster or whatever. I don't know. Ivan the Bomber. That's who we gave up for Brittany Griner. I don't know who we gave up for this, but I'll tell you, doesn't really matter, because it seems like the entire world is on the verge of war. And that brings us to our second story. Iran's supreme leader has demanded a military response to the attacks on sovereign Iranian soil. Remember we told you the other day, not yesterday, the other day, on Saturday, Hezbollah fired some Iranian-made missiles into a child's soccer game there in the West Bank. Or was it the Golan Heights? I mean, very little difference there, but small distinction. But I think, whatever, it doesn't matter. All of these beautiful little Israeli kids just out there kicking a ball around, eating orange slices, their lives were evaporated in the blink of an eye. So the response to that came from Israel a couple of days later, where they found the political leader of Hamas, the guy who wears the suit and demands to be treated like an actual statesman. They found that guy hiding in Iran, and they sent a bunch of missiles to blow up his house inside Iran. See, the problem there is that the Israelis blew up the dude's house inside Iran. You're not supposed to do that. That is, in fact, an attack, a military attack. Iran has now been provoked. You can't say that they were unprovoked. So the supreme leader of Iran has demanded that there be some form of a retaliation, military, and people are hot. And I don't know, man. That's bad. When this story broke about the Ayatollah there demanding military retribution, it was about 7 o'clock last night, 6 o'clock last night, and I just was like sort of watching the headlines all night long, going, "Okay, when are these bombs going to go? When is the Iranian army going to all out attack Israel, which will in fact be the beginning of World War III?" We will be compelled, the United States, to enter that war in that moment. We have pledged this for decades to Israel. It's the whole reason that they haven't been blown up before, is because everybody in the region subscribes to the idea that an attack on Israel will lead to war with the United States almost immediately. So now we're in this powder keg moment where the Ayatollah there in Iran has demanded a military action against Israel. They're firing missiles at each other. At what point does it just become all-out war, and all of a sudden we're in a war in the desert again? This is not good. So we got to keep an eye on that one. Iran's supreme leader out here demanding that his military be used against Israel. All right, let's talk about some Olympic stuff. I didn't watch a lot of Olympics last night because I ended up watching that Trump thing from the National Association of Black Journalists, which we're going to talk about. We're going to have some fun with it. Maybe you won't have the fun with it that I'm having with it. So, you guys can go, but come back. Don't take it personally. It was not a good moment for him. So we're going to go through that. I'm going to point out some things that really irk me, but what I say. But first we're going to talk about the Olympics. I didn't get to watch a whole bunch of Olympics last night because I was caught up in that whole point is this. Men's basketball played South Sudan. Luol Deng. You following the story of South Sudan? What a great story. What an incredible story. Now, you might remember, and I'm not going to tell you the story just yet, but you might remember a few weeks back in the qualifiers, South Sudan, a basketball team that wasn't even a country, let alone an Olympic participant, 5 years ago. So this is a brand new thing, South Sudan. A couple of weeks ago, they played the United States and they lost by 1 point. United States, Team USA beat South Sudan by 1 point, and everybody clutched their pearls. Everybody started talking about this team is a bunch of lazy, overpaid athletes, and they're not. And I'm like, shut up. This is like the greatest assemblage of basketball talent I've ever seen. My God, no one's going to come with that. I think my prediction was what? Average win total, 12 is going to be. 12 points is going to be the average winning margin. Well, they played South Sudan again last night, and they absolutely blew the doors off South Sudan. Now, South Sudan is a good story, and it's an interesting story, and I really love that they kept it close in the qualifying rounds. Here's why. South Sudan is like a super fucked up place. And the Sudan is a super fucked up place, but South Sudan is trying to separate themselves from that, and they're trying to, be normal. I don't know. I don't want to speak for them, but it's the story of Luol Deng. I don't know if you know who Luol Deng is. He was an NBA player for a number of years, a very good NBA player. He would retire and then go on to work in the NBA front office. But a couple of years ago, he's from the Sudan. A couple of years ago, he sort of dedicated himself to his home country. So he's been over there working, and he's created this basketball. This is his basketball team. This is his introduction to the world. Hey, we are South Sudan. It's a great story. It's a great story. And in the semifinals, when they kept the game close, and when it turned out just being a 1-point lead, that was an amazing thing for South Sudan. And there's a part of me that thinks that the NBA players from Team USA, they knew that. And the NBA players from Team USA kept that game close on purpose because they wanted Luol Deng, and they wanted that South Sudan team to have that moment, to have that. They didn't lose, Team USA didn't lose. But when everybody was clutching their pearls, I'm like, nah, there's something else going on here. There's no way this team is going to lose or play a 1-point differential to South Sudan. So, of course, they played. Now we're in the medal round. Or not in the medal round, but now we're in the Olympics. And they blew the fucking doors off them, okay? They won by, what was the final score? 103-86. And that's not blowing the doors off them. Well, I think they were only playing with one guy for the last 5 minutes. Seriously, for like the last 5 minutes, I think it was just LeBron. It was just LeBron versus the entire. So 103-86, Team USA. My 12-point margin is still looking pretty solid. Couple more games. Hell, I think my 12-point margin of victory is going to be low when all is said and done. I think the margin of victory could be closer to 20 points. All right, so that's Olympic basketball, Olympic men's basketball. Puerto Rico is next Friday. We're going to play Puerto Rico next. I'm going to blow them out by 20 points, I promise you. Puerto Rico. Y'all can't play basketball. Wait a second, or can they? I'm trying to think. Isn't there some good Puerto Rican basketball players in the NBA? I think there might be. Anyway, still, I'm saying 12-point victory at least. All right, now let's get into this Olympic side story. This is the side story that everybody's having fun with. Ooh, we're all sinking our teeth in. It's not officially part of the daily Olympic narrative that's put out there by Peacock and the Olympic Organizing Committee, but it is certainly the biggest story being discussed on social media and in coffee clatches around America today. And again, don't know why we're doing it in America. Not even our people involved, but hey, we love a good divisive story, and we got one here. So in women's boxing, yeah, that's a thing. For that, don't even get me started. You're such a misogynist. No, I'm not. I am not a misogynist. I was raised in a household where it was perfectly clear to me that a woman could do absolutely anything that a man could do. And in most cases, with the men that I've seen, better and more effectively, and with grace and with kindness. So don't get started with me being misogynist, because the idea of two women bloodying each other's faces with violence doesn't directly appeal to me. It doesn't. It's not feminine. I like feminine. I like women. I'm a guy, and I like women. And I'm sorry, and I guess I will apologize for this. I like women who wear dresses, and I like women who like to put on makeup, and I like women who are girls, okay? I like smart, strong, sophisticated, liberated women. That's what I like. Sorry if that makes me a misogynist. It turns me off to see women punching each other in the face, acting barbarically in the way that men do. Now, you know me. I love men fighting. I love it. Well, why shouldn't women be able to do it? Shut the fuck up. What do you mean, why shouldn't women not be able? I'm not saying women shouldn't be able to do it. I'm sitting here telling you that I don't like it, that I ain't tuning in for it. I ain't over here going, women shouldn't be able to fight. They want to fight, they can fight. It just doesn't appeal to me. Doesn't appeal to me. I'm sorry. The overly yoked combat sport body, okay, is not something that makes it move for me. It's just not a thing. Sorry, I don't get excited when a chick shows up with cauliflower ear. It's not. I'm sorry. Doesn't make me a misogynist. I'm probably the biggest pro-female advocate you guys know. I would love to have a woman take care of me. Are you insane? I wouldn't turn that down. Please. Anyway, so women's boxing is going on, and it's Italy. It's Italy versus Algiers, right? The hell kind of country is Algiers? I'm not sure what Algiers is. Where is Algiers? Is Algiers? Is that in? I can do it up here. Is that in Africa? In North Africa, right? That's North Africa. I'm playing dumb, but I got a pretty good idea of where, like Morocco, Tunisia. It's like kind of like that area, I guess. That sketchy ass part of the world. Oh yeah, it's a sketchy ass part of the world. Get off a plane, it's hot. There's chickens running around. That's a sketchy. Any place where the airport, where any place where within a couple of yards of the airport you can see livestock just roaming freely. That's a fucked up place. I don't want to go there. So Algeria is fighting Italy in a women's boxing match, welterweight. I'll pull this up. And, all right, so there's some problems here. 46 seconds into this fight, the Italian combatant, a young lady by the name of, I got to figure out her name because she's trending, right? Let's see. Give me her name. Angela Carini. It's Angela Carini, Italian, a chick boxer. Angela Carini. She's in this fight for 46 seconds, and she's like, fuck this. I am done. I am quitting. These are the Olympics. She's representing Italy. She gets popped twice in the face. She goes over to her corner. She says, I've never been hit like that before in my life. I'm done. She turns her corner, 46 seconds in. They throw in the towel. The referees meet in the middle. Or, they meet in the middle. They raise the hand. The chick from Algiers is declared the winner. Her name is Imane Khalif. Imane Khalif. Okay, that's the chick from Australia, from Algeria. What is this noise? I hate this damn noise. Oh, this is going to be a real pain in the ass page, isn't it? Because the pop-ups. All right. Now, here's the issue that is going on here. The Italian fighter didn't just quit. She didn't just get into the competition, get punched twice in the face and go, nah, you know what? I'm not. She wasn't. Well, she did just quit, but she quit for a reason. And I'm going to tell you what the reason is. Now, you're going to read a whole bunch of different things online today, and a whole bunch of people are using this story to project whatever views or narratives they want people to believe. But the chick from Algeria, Alifa, okay, what's her name? We got to get her name. We'll call her Khalif. All right, this is going to be Carini and Khalif. Just so Carini Italian, Khalif Algerian. Carini was disqualified from, not Carini, I'm sorry. Khalif, the Algerian woman, was disqualified from the World Boxing Championships, which are one of the ramp-ups to the Olympics. She was disqualified because the medical team at the World Boxing Championships detected abnormal levels of testosterone, causing them to come to the conclusion that Khalif was in fact not a biological woman, but a man, based on the testing used by the World Boxing Organization. Okay. Now there's a lot of people, trans people in sports. Slow your roll. That's not what this is. She's not a trans person in sport. Okay. She is a woman who has an accelerated level of testosterone due to a very common medical condition. I mean, I don't know how very common it is, but the people we're talking about, it's not like they don't know what this is. I mean, there are facts going on here in this story. The facts are this woman, this Algerian woman, has this affliction where she actually has this testosterone creating part of her. So it makes her stronger, makes her faster. Now, is that still an advantage in a gender secluded sport? In a sport where it's woman against woman, does a natural biological woman with an inordinate amount of male testosterone and maybe a couple of chromosomes thrown in have an advantage? Of course. Now, how do you legislate that difference? Is that like steroids in baseball? She can't, look, I'm sorry, but this affliction you were born with, it makes you ineligible to compete against other natural born women, right? Is that so? That's what's being dealt with now. The WBO, the World Boxing Organization, does not have the same testing or the same conduct code, or not conduct, but whatever it is, the way they handle this officially, this kind of stuff. WBO doesn't have the same thing as the World Olympic Committee. The World Olympic Committee has been accused of being incredibly lax with the whole trans issue and people gender fluid. The WBO is not so much. The WBO just has a panel of doctors who say this combatant has too much testosterone to be considered an equal match for this woman here. That's what happened with the WBO. She wasn't allowed to compete. However, the Olympic Committee, they don't have those kinds of rules, the same kinds of rules. So she is allowed to compete. She has a fight last night with the girl from Italy, and the girl from Italy takes 2 punches to the face. She quits. She's like, I've never been hit that hard in my life. This is obviously not right. This is not a woman. So now we've got this big blow up where everybody is conflating the issue of trans and gender fluidity and all of that and saying that this is why we can't have trans. This is not what this is. This is another similar, I will grant you, similar, but a completely different set of circumstances. We are talking about a girl who is not transitioning by choice, but we're talking about a girl who has never done anything in her life other than just be born this fucked up way and produce these extra testosterone. That is a real question. The WBO says that she is not a woman. They're not saying she's a man, though. And that's the other thing that we're seeing going around online. There's like, the WBO said she's a man. No, it is a medical distinction. That is not what the WBO said. She is a woman. She considers herself a woman. She's been a woman since she was 1 year old. She's just a woman with a whole bunch of testosterone and some extra chromosomes, and it's not her fault. It's not her choice. It's not her life decision, okay? This is just who she is. So I feel bad for this Algerian girl because here, certainly in America, and all of those kinds of places, they're like, she's a tranny, because people don't actually do the hard work of reading the full article and read about her history and her medical and all of that kind of stuff. The real issue here is the WBO has a different set of rules and regulations for who gets to fight in their female competitions than the World Olympic Committee does. And, this is being used as a political cudgel right now because people are saying, you see what happens with the liberal Olympic Committee? You got men in there beating up women. She's not a man. She's a big chick. She's a big chick with maybe some extra parts. And, but she was born and she was a woman on her birth certificate and she has a vagina and all of that stuff. But she does have a medical condition. So here, I want to show you this. I think we got video of it, don't we? So let's see if we can. Yeah. All right. Here we go. They're gonna make us. Here we go. All right. So here's the fight. This is not the best video that I have. I thought I had a better video, but that's okay. All right. Let's get rid of the pop-up. Let's make it bigger. All right. Here we go now.
Some quick replays of the very...
it's red, right? I think that the red girl is the Algerian and the blue girl is the Italian who quits.
Short-lived action in the... We have some quick replays of the very short-lived action in the women's welterweight bout there between Angela Carini and Imran Khalif.
So that was it. Those were the two punches, and the girl in the blue said, yeah, no, I've never been punched like that. That's a totally... So this is what everybody is hubbubbing about. And again, I just wanted to make it clear what we're talking about here with this girl. This girl does not represent the trans community. She does not want to be a poster person, this Algerian fighter. She doesn't want to be a poster person for the trans community. She doesn't consider herself trans. She has never transitioned from anything. She has always been a girl. She's always been a big girl. She's probably always been a girl that people looked at and went, that's a big chick, or whatever. But I feel bad for her. She didn't do anything. She's caught up in this whole political thing. She didn't do anything. She was born with a fucked up chromosome system. And it's common. It's not like she's the only one in the world. No, it's common. And it is not the same thing as being trans, okay? So stop it with this. She's not some trans. She's not carrying the flag for the trans community or all of this stuff. Hi, Shmee. Shmee is in the chat room. Frank Smith says they have livestock near the Lubbock, Texas airport, and it smells like animals. Yeah, that's why I don't spend a whole hell of a lot of time in Lubbock, Frankie. Told you. I'm getting off now. I ain't getting on no plane that... I ain't flying on no plane that lands at an airport where they got goats in the parking lot. That is not what I'm doing. All right, let's keep going. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, boy. Oh, nah. I don't want to do this. I don't like this story. Do we? No, we can't. We can't do it. We can't do this story. It's too early. Well, we'll just say it's too early. Can't do that story. It's a story about record turnout now being expected in November, and it's just another. There's a lot. It's been a bad few days for MAGA. It has. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I am enjoying the hell out of it because they're like Dallas Cowboy fans. The MAGA people are like Dallas Cowboy fans, man. You're winning the Super Bowl all the time, and then it becomes clear to everybody that you're really, and you're still delusional, and then it all fucking falls apart. And you're like, wow, we thought there was going to be a red wave. We really thought Dr. Oz was going to be. Yeah, just MAGA. You get all in. You're in trouble. You're in trouble. You better make a change. This is my advice to you. I'm even-handed with my political, my free political advice. I've been advising, I almost call it the Biden administration. It's not, I've been advising the Harris campaign here the last couple of days. Free stuff on how to keep capitalizing on this. Although they're in good shape, because like I said, they still got 2 bumps coming. And they're already running on the polls. Oof. Polls are not good. Trump needs a bump. Trump needs to get rid of Vance. I think we'll talk about that in a coming story. But yeah, so major voter turnout is now expected. Turnout expected to surpass last time, 2020. Now, here's why this is important. They were expecting record low turnout for this particular. When it was Biden versus Trump, I mean, that was not anything that energized the people, the couch sitters, right? So it was like, all right, so we can expect this amount of people because Biden, nobody's really excited about Biden, and Trump has a very consistent yet sedentary base. He's not growing. Trump ain't growing. Everybody who's voting for Trump is already voting for Trump. We already know about them. Nobody is like going to wake up on November 1st and go, you know what? Why didn't anybody tell me about this Trump guy? I mean, everybody who is possibly going to vote for him is there. So they were expecting a very low turnout in November, or at least less than it had been last time when Biden got record turnout to defeat Trump. Not anymore. They're expecting record turnout now. And again, this is all directly good to Kamala. This is Kamala. These people are now going to turn out for Kamala. All of these people, especially Gen Zs, especially these poorly motivated who didn't give a fuck about either of these 2 old motherfuckers. Now suddenly the polling is showing that people are now going to vote who probably weren't expected to vote before. Now, they're not saying, I'm coming out now to vote for Kamala, but that's what they're doing. That's the change that has occurred that suddenly has these, well, I'll show it to you. You know what? Why not? We're talking about it. Let's, record shift in projected turnout for November election. It's here we go. Harry Enton is the guy who does this. I like Harry Enton. Harry Enton is like I don't know what his deal is, although I know that he's like a rich kid who has a connected family somehow. Harry Enton does all the polling stuff on CNN. He's like a young Jewish guy from New York. Hold on. Got to skip this. All right, here we go. I like him. I like Harry Enton a lot. He's very Jewish. He's very New York Jewish and in his suit, and he's a young man, and he's a good boy and all that stuff. And I believe he probably comes from a connected family because there was some moment in one of his early appearances on CNN like 2 years ago, and he looked like 19 then. He was on with Chris Cuomo, and Chris Cuomo made some joke about how they used to hang out. Like, I remember when you were 15 and your dad used to bring... Chris Cuomo said that on TV. And I'm like, oh, fuck this Harry Enton guy. He comes from a connected family. His dad's hanging out with Chris Cuomo back in 1999. It was bullshit. Anyway, I've come to like Harry Enton. I've come to like... He's like, look, he's one of these dudes. I don't know if I could go on a car ride with him because he's like Upper East Side, New York, Jewish, and those people are, look, I can only handle the Woody Allen type for so long. You know what I mean? The George Costanza. I can't really. But anyway, Harry Enton, he was breaking down the numbers, and this is very interesting. And again, it's not a really great thing these past couple of days for MAGA. You guys better dig in. You guys better dig in, and you better drop Vance. So I keep telling you, drop Vance. Tulsi.
A potentially much lower turnout this go around in 2024 than 2020. So this is almost certain to vote in the election. You look post-debate 2024, look at that. It was just 55% of registered voters. That was actually...
All right, so post-debate, when Trump kicked the shit out of Biden, post-debate for Biden versus Trump, voter turnout was expected to be 55%. 55% of Americans were going to turn out to vote.
Actually the same as it was pre-debate, 55%. It was significantly lower than it was in 2020 during the summer when it...
So last summer, it was 60%. 60% of people were like, yeah, I'm interested. But then over the course of a year, what happened? We got so fucking sick and tired of Biden, Trump, that 5% of the people who said the previous summer they were going to vote were now like out. They're like, yeah, I don't give a fuck.
It was 60%. But look at where we are now. We are now at 62% after the RNC, after Kamala Harris gets into this race. And that is actually a higher number than what we saw during the summer.
So what changed? What changed post-debate 2024 at 55% that we're now at 62%? Where did that extra 7% in this polling come from? Well, those are obviously people who are now motivated because of Kamala Harris. It's good for her. I'm telling you, I didn't think this was coming. I told you people weeks ago she was unelectable. I don't know shit about this. I'm like, you can't lead with her. She's awful. And now look at her. Is my point. Can't deny what's happening.
Summer of 2020 when it was 60%. So at this particular point, as we look at the math right now, if we are trusting what voters are saying, it's actually possible we'll see higher turnout than what we saw in 2020, which is what you pointed out was record turnout. So quite the shift here. It's not just enthusiasm. It's actually people saying that they're going to go out and almost certainly vote.
If you believe what voters are saying with that guy.
I mean, if we don't, then this is all not going to work.
Well, you know, it's all funny money anyway. Yeah. Why?
Why is it? Well, you know, throughout this entire cycle, we've been pointing out that there were a ton of voters.
All right, now this is interesting. So these are polls. You dislike both major party candidates, the way I was when it was Trump and Biden, right? I'm like, I hate both of these guys. So pre-Republican National Convention, okay, 20% of people disliked both candidates. Today, with Harris being added to it, it's no longer Biden and Trump when 20% of people were like, I hate them both. Today, with Harris being added to it, that very same polls, the New York Times poll that had 20% just a month ago, is now at 8%. 8% of people now are telling the New York Times that they hate both. What changed? Biden was eliminated. They don't hate Biden anymore. They don't mind the new person. This is all not good.
Who dislike both Biden and Donald Trump. So pre-RNC, right? 20% in the New York Times polling, 20% in Ipsos polling. Look at where we are today. Look how dramatically these
All
numbers.
right, you know what? I
have
can't do
dropped.
these numbers. I don't want to do these numbers. My point is this. MAGA. That's why I'm sort of poking the bear when it comes to Barney online, because Barney's all in. Barney's going to be devastated when they lose. But I'm just telling you, I'm trying to prepare you, brother. Trying to prepare you. You have no idea how many brown little girls are out there. Yeah, they're going to be 18. I honestly think the way this is going, I think it's going to be an absolute landslide. And if you notice what I've been tweeting since last night, I think Trump's going to drop out. Seriously, I think he's going to drop out. I think something is going to be created, some situation. Donald Trump is going to look at this situation as untenable, and he's going to look for a way to escape, because the last thing he wants is to lose to Kamala Harris. And it is looking more and more, at least today, and a lot can change, but we're riding the wave of today. Right now, it looks like that's an inevitability, especially with J.D. Vance as his vice president. Nobody, by the way, did you hear last night? Was one of the things that I loved in Trump's new stump answer to the question about J.D. Vance is that I think he was asked how much faith do you have in J.D. Vance, or is J.D. Vance ready to take over on day one? Right, that's the direct question to Trump. And his answer is here's what his answer is. Well, vice presidents aren't important. The vice president, there's never been a significant bump in polling due to a vice president. And then he goes, well, except for maybe Johnson. Well, yeah, Johnson, sure. But then he goes, there's never been a vice president that's had any effect on the ticket. That's just not a thing that happens. And I'm sitting here going, yeah, tell that to John McCain, because the reason he ain't president is because of Sarah Palin. And hey, Donald, you got the new Sarah Palin. So yeah, you're right. From the way you're looking at it, maybe vice presidents don't help you get elected, right? They don't, nobody goes, hey, I'm going to vote for this guy now because of the vice president, but they sure as hell help you lose. When people are like, ugh, it's like guilt by association. John McCain lost my vote. When he chose Sarah Palin, I went, nope. I go, no. That is obviously, he's selling out right here. He is getting really desperate, and he's doing something weird. This mayor from Wasilla is not going to be a heartbeat away from the presidency. I was out. And there's a lot of people who feel that way about J.D. Vance. They're like, I'm out. I can't do it. Barney says, I'm not for Trump. I'm against Kamala. I sincerely hope he does drop out. All right, I can get that. I get that. Hugh says Trump stays in to pardon himself. I don't see him leaving, but finding a way. But if he's not going to win, that's the thing. That's his plan. His whole plan is that he wants to win so that he will be able to pardon himself, which certainly shouldn't be illegal and probably legal and probably isn't legal. But he's going to try it, and we'll see. And then it'll be legal. Because remember, people, I try to talk about this all the time. Everything is just a construct. It's just a construct. It's just things are illegal because somebody said they're legal, and then suddenly, or illegal, and then suddenly they're legal. There are people whose lives have been destroyed because they got caught with a bag of weed and did 20 years in prison because it was illegal. Well, that construct is now gone because it's not illegal anymore, and they're not criminals. And sorry about those years. Everything's a construct. Let's see here. Adam Raina says you're wrong about Palin. It was a desperation move to have him win. It wasn't something that wrecked it. That is exactly what I said. It was a desperation move that he was against. Who's the guy? Steve Schmidt was the guy who. Dude, I'm not going to get into this. I'm fucking very schooled on what happened with Sarah Palin, okay? Yes, she did cause him to lose. She was a drag on the ticket. It was a close race. And her presence, yeah, okay, you know what? I'm just going to go with Adam. Adam, I'm the one. I'm the one person. I represent nobody else. I'm the one person who decided not to vote for McCain because of his choice of Palin. That's me. I'm the only fucking one. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you allowing me to rant there. Barney says they really should check with me on these things because the correct answer should have been no one is ready on day one. If you haven't sat behind the desk, You have no idea what it takes. So what you're saying then is no, even top of the ticket. No, that's no Barney. Stop it. I'm not going to get into these poetic waxings with you about, the width and breadth and the pressure of the presidency. Oh, fuck it. You governors. You know who's ready on day one? Governors. People who've been executive officers in the state. If you are the executive officer of the state of California, New York, Texas, maybe even Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, Michigan, any of the big ones, you should be able to step right in and be president of the United States. It's the same executive thing. Now, congressmen, fuck no. Mayors, fuck no. Senators, I do not like voting for senators. That's always been a problem of mine. Senators do not govern or work within our system in the same way that a state house executive does. That's why I always feel better when the person running is coming from a governorship than from like the Senate or whatever. I mean, it works. Not as much as you think, though. Most of the time they are governors. Most of the time they come from governor's mansions, not the Senate. But there have been a few. Barack Obama, of course, senator. Hell, Kamala Harris was a senator. But that's 2 jobs ago. She's the vice president. So, that's different. Kamala Harris is a senator. No, she's not. She's not running for president as a senator. Kamala Harris is running for president as a vice president who's been vice president for 4 years. Get it fucking right. Trump ain't never done nothing except squander his daddy's money. Oh, I hate this guy. I hate this. You guys know I hate this guy. He's just a bad dude. He's just no fun. Actually, that's not true. He's a whole lot of fun. I just worry about I don't worry about anything. What is that? See that? What was that programming? No, guys, I just want to slow it down here. I just worry about what's going to happen to this country. Fuck that. That's bullshit. No, I don't. I just think he sucks and he shouldn't have the cool job. That's pretty much it. I worry for the state of democracy. I worry that this nation will never be what it was. No, it's not. He's a dick. That's a cool job. I don't want him to have it. Case closed. It's as simple as that. Barney says, I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying it what he should say. Oh, yeah, I got you, Barney. No, I got you. But what do they do? Okay, so we're having this conversation now in the chat room. So what do? So who's up? So who's the Republican that slides in that doesn't get completely waxed by this wave of Kamala Harris support? What are you going to do? You're going to run? What are you trying? What are you really going to try and do a monarchy? And now it's going to be like, hey, we're going to run Don Jr. We're going to get old Cokie McSniffle-Lot up here and see how he handles the grind of a 100-day campaign. No. Who'd it be? You should give it to Haley. See, it's fucking, if it's just about for you red and blue, Nikki Haley would kick Kamala Harris's ass. She would absolutely kick Kamala Harris's ass. And you Republicans or conservatives or however you define yourself, you will know that you have just destroyed the liberals. And I kind of think that's pretty much the only thing. Well, Barney just said it. I don't support Trump. I just hate Kamala, right? His whole thing is hating on something, not supporting anything. And that's kind of what the rank and file Republicans are. So who's next? So who you got? Nikki Haley, I think, would be the one, but Trump's ego would never allow that. I mean, my God, if in this fantasy world, this hypothetical that we've created here, Donald Trump is jumping out because it's looking like he's going to lose and he really doesn't want to take that L, right? He doesn't want to have the L on the schedule, because he sees it coming and he wants to be able to deny it. Boy, if I'd have been able to run, he can do all of that stuff. But if he actually runs and loses, then it's... So who's taking his place? Nikki Haley. See, that's the one. They would have to, but they can't. Wait a second. They've had it's J.D. Vance. That's who it is, because that's who they nominated at the convention. It's J.D. Vance. If Trump, because I keep thinking, well, they could do something at the convention. No, the Republicans already had their convention. It would be unprecedented. And I don't know. That's a good question. Who would take his place? I mean, how would you even get on ballots? I don't. Whoa, good Lord. Barney says, I take Nikki. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go back through some shows back when Nikki Haley was a subject, and I'm going to see what you said, Barney, about Nikki Haley. Then we'll see. We'll see the consistency of. No, I would take Nikki too. I would take Nikki Haley. I have a real problem with her being as unprincipled as she is. She isn't. She seems smart. And here's the other thing, though. She seems like, man, she just seems like she knows right from, like, she's not going to be a horrible, shameless criminal. I just don't get that vibe from her. She's going to say whatever she needs to say in the moment to score political points. That's been the real distressing thing about Nikki Haley, is that, she goes from I would never vote for Trump, he's a monster, blah, 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 to I gratefully give my delegate, so she's, unprincipled. I suppose you could say that about a whole bunch of people in politics, but that's kind of the problem, right? Everybody in politics is unprincipled. I don't know. She'd be okay, but I don't know who else they got. Barney says, don't start acting like the rules matter now. Ain't that true? Ain't that true? Rules don't matter. Everything, thank you, Barney, brings me back to my point. Everything is a construct. The rules are not real. They're just things they say are real, and then we just act accordingly. But if you break the rules and nothing happens, don't the rules really just go away? It's all a construct. You can't do that because that's wrong, says who? The construct that has programmed my being. All right, what else do I got? Let's talk about some other things. We're running late. It's 2:00 already. We're like halfway through the thing. We're going to talk about Joe Rogan now. Let's talk about Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, a couple of stories about Joe Rogan. I like this. The first one, apparently Joe Rogan went on his podcast, and he's seeing what I'm seeing. He had some guy, some dude who's like a right-wing, Trump MAGA world kind of dude. He's a writer, Michael Malice. Is that it? Is that who it is? Anyway, I know him as like a conservative shit talker who is always trending for saying things that, are easily triggering, crazy people on the left. Crazy people on the left hate this guy. So I typically don't listen to those episodes of Rogan. Like if it's somebody who's just known to be a shill for a certain point of view, no. But, if he's having people like, Dawkins on, or even Jordan Peterson. I think Jordan Peterson, I used to have to defend Jordan Peterson too. I don't want to get into defending Jordan Peterson because he says some controversial things, but he also says some incredibly interesting things. Jordan Peterson to me is kind of the heir apparent to Christopher Hitchens, although Hitch was a little bit deeper, I think. I don't want to get into it. My point is this. I don't listen to every Joe Rogan episode because, again, a lot of his stuff is stupid and nonsense. But he's good. But his guests are stupid and nonsense. It's like Art Bell. Like I used to listen to Art Bell every night, and some nights I'd just go, this is stupid. I ain't listening to this. So Rogan was talking to this guy yesterday on his podcast yesterday, and he basically came out and he said, Kamala's going to win. I'm sorry, but are you seeing what's happening out there? It's not word for word. You can listen to it yourself. It's posted. And then there was pushback from his guest, and Joe was like, no, I'm telling you, man. So basically, Joe was saying what a lot of people are thinking, and Joe don't give a fuck. Joe's not going to live in some delusional world where these numbers are not happening and where there isn't this energy everywhere. So he put it out to his audience. He's like, look, Kamala's going to win. She's going to win. There's no way that Trump is going to. And then throughout the course of the conversation, to be fair, it should be said that at the end of it, Joe Rogan goes, I'm not saying she's going to win. I'm just saying she can. I'm not saying I want her to. I'm just saying, so he hedged it like that. But still, it's a big moment. Joe Rogan is an incredibly influential people to a lot of people, especially young men on the right. And for him to come out and just lay it out there. See, I hear that shit on Sky News. I hear that shit on CNN. I hear that shit on people I follow, right? But Joe Rogan's audience ain't hearing that shit on CNN. They ain't watching Harry Enton break down the numbers and the new registered voters, all of whom are not going to vote for Trump. Yes, the 17 million new 22-year-old girls of color who have recently registered, they're voting for Trump. This is what people are seeing. They're like, oh, fuck. Whether you like her or not, she's going to tap into voting bases that haven't been stirred up since Obama. Here they come. They came out to an extent for Biden. Biggest turnout, right, in history. All right. So anyway, Rogan said that he thinks Kamala is going to win. He opened that can of worms. I was talking with, I think it was Jeff, our buddy Jeff in the chat room. Jeff's like, yeah, but then, he kind of changes it. Did you listen to the whole thing? I'm like, nah, I didn't listen to the whole thing. But I did listen to that whole segment. And like I said to Jeff, I go, you don't understand what Joe Rogan is doing here. He's not married to that opinion in the moment, but what he's doing is he's floating that as a balloon on his show in this episode. Joe Rogan has now said on record that he thinks Kamala Harris is going to win. You're going to hear it again. He's going to say it again. He's going to slide that in. It's very interesting. Joe Rogan's smart. Joe Rogan knows how to sort of manipulate his audience. I mean, look at to the degree that he's grown it in such a short period of time. You may not like some of the things that he says. Oh, I can't believe Joe. He's not a bad person. He is not a bad person. He's a little arrogant. He's a little bit of a dude bro. You know, I mean, I've known Joe for 25 years. He's doing my radio shows in Chicago. He did Pugs and Kelly. I've known him forever, going to stand-up comedy shows with him. Don't know him like within I wouldn't say like since Joe Rogan became the Joe Rogan podcast. Certainly I've had he's not my buddy. But my point is, there was a time, you know, where I kind of understood the guy and I knew what kind of person he was. And he always struck me as uber confident, very funny, really smart. Like maybe not smart, like intellectual, like I'd, need him to explain the Pythagorean theorem to me. No, not like that, but tuned in, like quick, like clever, smart, like paying attention and like, oh, here's what we can do. I don't know. I've always liked him. But I do think his show is sometimes unnecessarily troubling and problematic. But he's a comedian. He's fucking with people. That's the other thing. He's a bit of a troll. He's been trolling on his show for years and years, and it's just so happened that it's become so ingrained into his style, into his show style, that it's hard to tell when he's trolling, when he's floating balloons to see what the reaction will be. And that's what I think he was doing yesterday by floating the Kamala Harris balloon, where he thinks that she's going to win, and predicted. He said his exact words in the beginning. I know he backtracked, but he said, "I predict Kamala Harris is going to win." That was it. And then at the end of it was like, I'm not saying I'm just, that. But you got to go with the initial statement, the contention. He backed up and he, got some pushback on it. But the initial statement is true to what he actually believes. And a lot of people are. So let's go, MAGA. Buckle up. We got a fist fight happening here. Also in Joe Rogan news, I love this one. So Joe Rogan is apparently being criticized. And is this Steven Seagal? Yeah, okay. So Steven Seagal is angry at Joe Rogan. I think I'd take Rogan in that fight. He's younger, right? But he's not young. Rogan's old. It's like two old guys. I guess maybe I'd go with Seagal. I don't know. Who do you go with in a fight right now in a parking lot, a Burger King parking lot outside Austin right now? Steven Seagal is going to fight Joe Rogan. Who wins? See, you gotta separate the myth of Seagal, right? Like I want to go, no, Seagal, man, he's a badass. But then that other voice in my head goes, come on, man, all of that shit that was said about Seagal was bullshit and Hollywood PR, and none of it's true. And he's a very mysterious dude, but that's just because he didn't do anything of note for the first 20 years of his life. And he had a blank slate, and he made up all of this nonsense about I'm a 7-dan sensei Jude, all that stuff. Joe, over the years, by the way, has sort of shot down a lot of that stuff, saying that he is, in fact, trained, and he is, in fact, a very accomplished judo or something, but he is certainly not the killing machine that he was, portrayed as. So I don't know who wins. Anyway, what are they fighting about? They're fighting about this. Back when the Ukraine war started, Joe Rogan went on his show and started making fun of Steven Seagal because Steven Seagal, if you remember this story, as soon as Putin invaded Ukraine, Steven Seagal suited up and went to war wearing a Russian military uniform. Putin's buddy, Steven Seagal, was out there fighting on the front lines in the Ukraine war invasion. You might remember this. It was a news story. Oh, people, look at Steven Seagal, Putin's little lackey. He's out there. To prove his point, Joe Rogan showed a picture of Steven Seagal doing exactly that, wearing a Russian military uniform in what appears to be some sort of firefight in the Ukraine countryside. Unfortunately, and Joe didn't know this because this is the danger with Joe and it's danger with me as well. We go with stories that we think are interesting and that we can riff on. Joe went with that story and he riffed on it, and it turned out it wasn't a real story. That the picture that he was using to show that Steven Seagal was there is actually a still from a movie, from a Steven Seagal movie, and that Steven Seagal wasn't even in Russia at this time. And so apparently Steven Seagal had a number of deals and backers or branding opportunities here in America for certain things, and he lost all of them. Apparently he lost all of them because everybody believed that Steven Seagal was fighting for Putin in the Ukraine war. So now Steven Seagal is like, Joe Rogan, you owe me money. Was that a is that a Steven Seagal imitation I just tried there? What's going on? That's weird. All right, let's keep going. JD Vance's roomie. I wanted to show you guys this because we talked about this yesterday. JD Vance's roomie, who is whatever. My point is this. JD Vance's roomie is like the best trans person ever. I mentioned this yesterday. Their trans game is really good. A lot of times, if we're being honest, you see people who like are transitioning, and they're like a dude who wants to be a woman, and you see them and they're like, and you're like, I'm happy if you're happy, man. But they ain't hot. It's like, oh. Remember that Amazon Prime show, Transparent, right? Jeffrey Tambor played a character who transitioned to a woman. And not a good one. I was just like, Jeffrey Tambor, you're an ugly man. As a woman, I don't. Anyway, point is this. I wanted to show you JD Vance's roommate. This person transitioned from, it's gotta be easier, right? To transition from a woman to a man than it is to transition from a man to a woman, right? It's just gotta be easier. They seem to, women, all right, here you go. This is JD. This is his roommate. Look, this is just like a really good trans person. There you go. Hold on, check this out. Oh, and by the way, I'm not making fun of trans people. I am normalizing the idea that they are with us and they are just like us. And I am pointing out that this is a trans person who, to my eye, would fool me. This is a trans person. If I met this person, I would be like, wow, that's a super feminine boy. But it's a boy. I'd have been like, that's a boy. That's totally a boy. He's just a little feminine. That's a gay boy. Anyway, here you go. Check this out. This person is great. This person, they look so much like a dude. This looks exactly like a dude.
Vance's office for a comment on your decision to publicly share your correspondence with him, with us. And here's what a spokesperson for Vance says, Sophia. They say, quote, "It's unfortunate this individual chose to leak decade-old private conversations between friends."
You got to change that name. You can't be on CNN looking like that, looking really good. Can I introduce you to my daughter? I mean, that is a sharp-looking young man on CNN. You cannot present like that and then still go with Sophia. Tell me, Sophia. It was very confusing. And of course they can. I'm not the Meisterburger making all these decisions around here. Of course they can. Well, it's just stupid. Why isn't your name Billy? Your name should be Billy. Tell me she doesn't. Tell me they, excuse me, I want to make sure I'm being respectful because I am ultimately a respectful individual. Tell me why they ain't going by Billy or Sophia.
Senator,
what is the masculine of Sophia? Is there a masculine of Sophia? Like Sophia, like I don't think there is a masculine of Sophia.
Vance values his friendships with individuals across the political spectrum. He has been open about the fact that some of his views from a decade ago began to change after becoming Senator with him, with us.
All right, so yeah, this is why I pulled this up. I got distracted by the fact that JD Vance's former roommate is a really good, high-quality trans. I wanted to show you this. This is the response from the Vance campaign, from the Vance team, to Sophia, his former best friend and roommate, going out and sharing all of these emails and text messages and talking about how he's such a hypocrite. All right, this is Vance's team's response to all of this. All right, let's check this out.
And here's what a spokesperson for Vance says, Sophia. They say, quote, it's unfortunate this individual chose to leak decade-old private conversations between friends. Senator Vance values his friendships with individuals across the political spectrum. He has been open about the fact that some of his views from a decade ago began to change after becoming a dad and starting a family. And he has thoroughly explained why he changed his mind on President Trump. Despite their disagreements, Senator Vance cares for Sophia and wishes Sophia the very best. Now, I want to ask you about that last sentence in just.
All right. So that's what the Vance campaign had to say. That's fucking perfect. That's probably the best thing the Vance campaign has ever done. You would completely expect them to dick trip on one of these kinds of, that was perfect. That was really good. There was no malice towards her. There was no bullshit towards her. There was no, I can't believe that a friend would betray someone to this man. There was none of that. It was, my opinions have changed. I wish her the best. I love her. She's my friend, blah, blah, blah. I hope it was perfect. Maybe not perfect. The bar was very low, right? What my expectation of the Vance's response to Sophia the dude, going around talking about how he was totally okay with chicks with dicks. He was doing that. I would think that their response would have been something a bit more MAGA-y, a little bit more weirdo or whatever. But no, it wasn't. That was very measured. That was very appropriate. It was good. I was impressed by that. I'm impressed by absolutely nothing else from J.D. Vance. Although I am the guy. This is not a surprise to me. You guys, how long have I been saying this? This is not a joke. You think I'm kidding? Do you think I'm seeing something that you're not? J.D. Vance wears mascara. He has been wearing mascara for about 9 months. I've been pointing this out. Why the fuck is he wearing mascara? And more to the point, why are you MAGA people just overlooking it like it's normal? He's wearing mascara. What is that about? What is that? No, his eyes are just not. No, they're not. Look at other pictures of him. Look at pictures from the past. He's wearing mascara. God damn it, you people. Anyway, all right. Let's keep going here. I just signed myself out being so upset about your reluctancy to come with me, wondering why the fuck is this guy wearing mascara and why is nobody else mentioning it? I will say this. The other thing that I've been saying, and again, this is just an observation. I've been saying that I think that Kamala Harris, or not specifically Kamala Harris, but I've been saying that I think black women who don't work for Donald Trump and who maybe have a little bit of an axe to grind with him, I think they're Trump's kryptonite. I do. I think by kryptonite, I mean he can't fight with them. He doesn't know how to fight with them. And this is not to be unexpected. Donald Trump is an incredible boardroom brawler. You got an Ivy League degree and you're like a 55-year-old white man, who golfs and, has time on the company private jet. If you're that guy, Donald Trump will fuck you up in a face-to-face argument. He will fucking go. He will humiliate you. You won't know how to respond to the shit that he's saying because he's so off the wall and inappropriate. Dominates these kinds of people. Not a black woman. I keep telling you, he doesn't know how to fight with a black girl. Black girls, I grew up on the south side of Chicago. Black girls are some of the scariest fucking things you will ever run across, especially the hot ones. Oh my God. Hot black girls, a gaggle of hot black girls on a city bus in August. No, thank you. They will fuck you up. And that's what Trump is walking into. Trump doesn't know how to fight with Kamala Harris. He's going to talk some shit. He's going to say something like he's going to be like, you didn't pass the bar exam. He's going to say that to her. And she's going to be like, bitch, you got 15 bankruptcies. You got ex-wives. You're banging porn stars. She will just go for the jugular. She's not going to respond the way a proper white man from an Ivy League university would respond. Good sir, I take exception to your tone. That ain't how fucking black girls fight back against fat, rich white men. It ain't a thing. Not saying that he can't beat her. I'm saying he has no experience with that kind of tete-a-tete. He doesn't. Again, you put up a train of fucking Jeb Bushes in front of him and he's going to meat grind them to tomorrow. But just a couple of black girls on a city bus, there ain't no way that motherfucker's coming out of that argument with any shred of dignity. He's going to get just destroyed. As soon as that head starts going, you start seeing the nails. Oh my God, it's over. It is over. Old fat white man has no idea how to fight that. All right. But he does. But this is why it's such a volatile situation, because, at some point he's going to go, you're just an N-word. Like, that's what you want. You want him to lose his shit where he's just like, we should have kept you in chains. Like, that's what you're hoping for. You just needle him to the point where he can't believe that this woman, this black woman, no less, is talking to me, Donald Trump, in this way. And you're hoping that you can get him to explode publicly. That's what she's going to do. That's going to be the game. We saw it last night. The NABJ, they did it. The National Association of Black Journalists. They fucked with them, and he came off terribly. Hamina, hamina, hamina. They were laughing at him. He hates being laughed at. He does not like being mocked or laughed at. And he spent a good 40 minutes on stage with a room full of journalists, smart journalists, people with degrees who are, out there in the world for a living. And they're laughing at him. And he's like, what? What's so funny? Why do you guys laugh? It was a bad day for him yesterday. Somebody needs to be fired. Somebody needs to be fired really quick. Whoever thought it was a good, Mr. President, you should really sit down with these 3 angry black women. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 2. Because they had that Stepford black chick, Harris Faulkner. She's woman is weird. Well, she looks like a robot, doesn't she? And I can't tell if I'm attracted to Harris Faulkner or not. I can't tell. I'm like, is she hot? I don't know if she's hot. No, that's not the only way that I judge women. I'm just saying Harris Faulkner looks like she could either, like, if you put Harris Faulkner in front of 5 guys, you'll get 5 different reactions. Someone's going to say, she's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Other people are going to be like, is she human? Or what is it? Is that like, are those limbs human? They seem alien. Anyway, Harris Faulkner was there. She was the one that was nice to him. Which, of course she was. The other 2, man, and he spent the whole time going, you're being so mean to me. I can't believe that you started without saying hello. I mean, it was grievance after grievance. You people are so mean to me. God damn, you people are pussies. He is such a snowflake. Everybody was so mean to me. Dad, it was not a nice way to talk to me. And everybody tried to lie to me. And God damn, that appeals to you, Barney? Well, no, I guess Barney said he's not a Trump guy. He just hates Kamala. It was a bad moment for him. It wasn't a brave moment. It wasn't a statesman-like moment. And he will never do it again. And I predict now, after that National Association of Black Journalists situation yesterday, I predict that he will not debate Kamala Harris. Dude, there is no way that he is going to debate her. We saw how uncomfortable he is around women, around people who are not country club members. Country club members, he can fuck them up. And like poor white trash, working class dummies like you and me, he can fuck us up too, because we just are all like, whatever you say, Mr. Rich Guy. He's got us there. He doesn't have the black community like that. He doesn't have black girls like that. Like I said, black girls are they will fuck you up. Please, what do I know? Just born and raised on the south side of Chicago. What do I know about black chicks? And I stand by it. The hotter they are, the scarier they are. God, there were some hot chicks on the bus that I used to take between 95th. Now, you know what? I don't need to go into my weird past. Although I wasn't a creeper old guy back then. I would be just like a 22-year-old dude on a bus just checking out chicks wearing Daisy Dukes. Black girls with their nails screaming at each other. Don't make eye contact. What you looking at, white man? I mean, don't make eye contact. Smile. Do a lot of smiling. They're playing music. Go with it. You know, don't be like, hey, can you girls turn that music down? I mean, this is a bus. Am I right, people? Don't do that. That is not. Whatever they're playing is your favorite song at the moment. That's my advice to you. Riding a city bus with a bunch of hot black girls. That's just... All right, what else do we have here today? All right, so we'll do these really quick. Weston Cage. You know who Weston Cage is? Weston Cage is Nicolas Cage's son. Weston Cage beat the fuck out of his mom. And there's pictures. You can find Weston Cage, Nick Cage's wife. He beat up his mom. And now they're in court, and he's pleading not guilty. And there's pictures and all that. And we know what he did. Jesus. Drugs is what I'm guessing. I'm guessing there's a kid on drugs. Could you imagine? Could you imagine beating up your mom? How far have you spun off that you are? Ugh. Anyway, so Weston Cage has pled not guilty. By the way, when you see a picture of him, you're like, yeah, that kid looks like somebody who would beat up his mom while high on drugs. What else do we have here? Doug Liman. This is a fun one. Doug Liman, who is the producer of Roadhouse. You know, the new Roadhouse, Jake Gyllenhaal, Conor McGregor. I don't know who else was in that, but whatever. It's pretty good. We watched it on Netflix. Doug Liman is talking about how he's very unhappy with the way the whole Roadhouse on Netflix thing went down. Because as he says, we have 50 million streams. 50 million streams on Netflix of the Doug Liman film Roadhouse. And he ain't received one bit. He is just like, no, they paid me X amount of dollars to make the movie. And unlike when it's in a theater, I don't get any kind of back end because nobody knows. Jake Gyllenhaal saying the same thing. He's like, Jesus, this movie is so big. Shouldn't I have made more than I made? No. The economics of streaming, oh boy. And we just went through that big strike, or we just went through a big strike about the economics of streaming. People who create streaming content on these platforms wanted better representation in contract negotiations, and they wanted a larger slice, which is understandable. It's a new format. It's a new industry. But after all of that, still, now you got Doug Liman going, 50 million downloads of my movie, and I ain't seen dick one other than the paycheck that I got on the first day of shooting. So there's that. So they'll have to work through that, because if that is in fact the case, and here's why it's relevant, okay? This is why it should be. It's not just some rich Hollywood director complaining, because now he's openly complaining about it, which means that the next time a big-time Hollywood director goes and decides to make a movie that Netflix wants to be a direct to Netflix, he's now going to say, well, wait a second, we're going to have to figure out a proper accounting of streams. Because unlike box office money or back-end deals that they used to get when they were, films were being released in theaters, it's a very sketchy process by the platforms to accurately account for streams and what those streams, you can stream, I bet you there are 24 movies on Netflix that I streamed, that I account for, but I didn't watch. Are you saying because I've started movies, watched 5 minutes of it and then went, nope. I didn't watch the whole movie, but does that account for streaming? So these are all of the new wild, wild west kind of things we've got to figure out. Quentin Tarantino decides he's not going to only make 10 movies. Let's say 3 years from now, Quentin Tarantino's like, yeah, okay, that's enough of a break. I want to make a movie and it's going to be on Netflix. You think he's going to do it for the kind of deal that Doug Liman did Roadhouse? Roadhouse was big. That was an event movie on Netflix. So that's why it's interesting. We need the great directors and the great creators and the great actors to be comfortable putting these movies on Netflix. Why? Because a guy like me doesn't want to go to the movies anymore. I like that a new, hotly talked about film can be seen for the first time on the day it's released from my bedroom. Right? I like that. I think a lot of us like that. Apparently you got to pay these guys, though, or otherwise it's just going to be a bunch of stupid Adam Sandler and Friend movies. Now, that's not to say that Doug Liman's Roadhouse was a good movie. It wasn't. It was a fun movie. It was an event movie, and it was, for people who love the first Roadhouse. But it's a terrible film. I mean, it's a terribly stupid premise. It's a dumb movie. It's a dumb movie about a bunch of meatheads getting half drunk and fighting in parking lots. That's what it's about. But it's fun. April says Roadhouse is on Prime Video. Roadhouse is on Prime. Wait, well, the original Roadhouse or the new one? The new one was a Netflix one. The one that was it on Prime? Maybe it was. Maybe I'm wrong. Am I confusing Prime? Is that what he's saying here? Yeah, whatever. All right, here. Well, no, not whatever. Let's make it clear because you guys are right. I mean, it's a distinction without consequence, right? I mean, you knew I was just talking about one of the, it's like saying, yeah, I love Coke. And then you're like, no, that's not a Coke, that's a Pepsi. You know what I meant, but I appreciate you making it clear to me. I don't like to look like an idiot. Roadhouse director Doug Liman says 50 million people streamed the film, but I didn't get a cent. Jake Gyllenhaal also got screwed. Roadhouse director Doug Liman is still frustrated over the streaming release of his Jake Gyllenhaal-led action movie, telling IndieWire that while promoting his new Apple movie, The Instigators, so he didn't learn anything, or maybe he did learn something and he's got a much better deal with Apple. All right, doesn't matter. We don't have to spend that much time on rich guys complaining about nickel and dimes. Doug Liman. Doug Liman's the guy who created Entourage. So he's got that Entourage money. All right. What else do we have here? Let's see. See, look at us running a little bit late. It is Pledge Week. I'm gonna leave it all on the floor for you. Please help out with Pledge Week if you can. I'm not gonna look. If this is how this show ends, it's not gonna come to a whimper. I'm gonna run through that wall on the very last day. Okay, here we go. Yeah, do we want to do this? Nah, I guess we don't have. Yeah, why not? All right, so tonight I'm very excited about this. And it's crazy. You know, you're probably like, hold on. Oh, for fuck's sake, you can't just give me an easy list. No, it's got to be all these real extravagant. Anyway, tonight is the Hall of Fame game, which means football is back. NFL football, the season officially begins. Well, not games that count, but what I'm talking about in the mind of the average fan, training camp is now in full swing across 32 different locations, and today is the very first game where uniforms will be worn, people will get hit, and beer will be served in stadiums. That's what's happening today. It's the Hall of Fame game, the Hall of Fame class of 2024. It is Hall of Fame weekend. They're bringing in a whole bunch of people. Let's talk about the Hall of Fame class of 2024 because I got a little something that I want to say about it. Y'all know that I'm a Chicago Bear fan. This is a very big Hall of Fame class for the Chicago Bears. Once again, the team with more Hall of Fame members than any other team in the goddamn NFL is putting 3 more, 2.5, we'll call it, people into the Hall of Fame. And we're very excited about it. But this class, I'm going to tell you the names of the people who are going to be enshrined in Canton over the weekend. This is not a really exciting class. Do you watch the Hall of Fame induction? I don't. Does anybody? I mean, other than like family members of the people going in, it's always so very long and boring. I'll watch the clips if somebody says something wild. But nobody's going to say something wild is my point. This is a very motherfucker. God damn it. All right. God damn it. I just clicked on Hall of Fame class of 2024. And you know what it's doing? It's giving me all 150 people. I just saw a little bio as I scrolled 5 minutes down. I saw a little bio on some dude that used to hand out towels in the Cleveland Browns locker room. He's going into the Hall of Fame. Can you just give me Devin Hester, Julius Peppers, Steve McMichael? And those are the ones I want. All right, whatever. It doesn't matter who's going in. The fact is, well, Devin Hester's going in. There is no star. There is no star. Like in a couple of years from now, 4 years from now, we'll see Tom Brady. And that Hall of Fame weekend is going to be Tom Brady's Hall of Fame weekend. God forbid you're anybody else going into the Hall of Fame the weekend that Tom Brady is, because nobody cares, right? But that's not a problem this year. this year, I don't think there's going to be any good sound bites. I don't think there's going to be, everybody that seems to be going in is kind of low key, kind of, they're good. They're Hall of Famers, but they're not talkers. They're not shit talkers. They're not braggarts. All but one. And this is why this Hall of Fame induction ceremony is going to be so, Steve McMichael. Steve McMichael is going into the Hall of Fame. Steve McMichael, famously a member of the 85 Bears, Buddy Ryan's 46 defense, just an absolute madman out there. Bigger than life personality off the field. Oh my God, you put a microphone in front of Steve McMichael and he will go, go, go. WWE, right? McMichael ended up joining the WWE for a while. Everybody loves Steve Mongo McMichael. He is amazing. And could you imagine what his Hall of Fame speech would be? He would have a beer in his hand. It would be equal parts Stone Cold Steve Austin and Stone Cold Steve Austin and who else? He's such a great shit talker. Conor McGregor. That's who Steve McMichael would have been. We're not going to get that. Steve McMichael is like on his, that's wrong. I shouldn't say on his deathbed because I don't know if he's on his deathbed, but he has MS, multiple sclerosis, and he can't move, and he's on tubes and all of that kind of stuff, and he's going to be missed. And this entire weekend is going to be kind of like, it's boring. It's boring because Mongo isn't here. It's boring. He can't even make it. Us Bear fans, we were like, please, Mongo, get fucking in this year because we wanted him to be alive for it. And he was, and it's nice. And he's a nut. And the ceremonies are going to absolutely be lacking this year because they don't have that guy. They don't have the guy who's going to be like, let me tell you something about what an asshole Mike Ditka was. That's who Steve McMichael was. And that's what we're not going to get. We're not going to get that from Julius Peppers. Julius Peppers is a goddamn professor. I'd like to thank you. Julius Peppers is a very dignified, very calm man. Devin Hester doesn't talk. Devin Hester does his talking with a ball in his hands at the goal line. And then he goes 99 yards the other way. So anyway, it's going to be a bit, I think, anticlimactic. Now, let's talk about the game. There is a game tonight. It's going to be on ABC, ESPN, 7 o'clock. Can't wait. Chicago Bear backups will be taking on Houston Texan backups in the Hall of Fame game there at Benson Stadium in Canton. Is that where it is? Is that where I think it can? Is it one of them deals where there's a museum, but they got a better deal on a stadium 3 towns away? So, it's no, I think it's all in the same complex, right? I think it is. I've never been. I would love to go. I would love to go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. How far is it from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Because I think that's a reason to go to Cleveland. That's a reason to you go to Cleveland, you're going to go to 2 really cool museums. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which I've been to, but not in 20 years. But I was there 20 years ago. It was awesome. And the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So the game is going to be tonight. Nobody of any interesting look. I'm going to watch it. I don't expect you to watch it. I wouldn't expect random Cowboy fans or Philadelphia Eagle fans or anybody who likes the Chargers to watch tonight, but certainly there's going to be a significant number of Texans fans who will watch tonight, and there will be a significant number of Bears fans who will watch tonight. I shouldn't say significant because collectively when the ratings come out, there's probably only going to be about 15,000 of us who bothered to watch, but hey, I'll be one of them. And why? Because I want to see our second string. I want to see some of these guys I want to see Austin Booker. We took him in the 5th round, and he's apparently a goddamn house on fire in camp coming off the edge. They're like, he's the find of it. He is Max Crosby. We found him in the 5th. So I want to see that. I want to see our backup quarterback. I want to see what our new offense looks like, although I probably won't get any really good peeks at what they're going to do in the regular season. I got a new coordinator, I got a new offensive coordinator who's a completely different kind of coordinator than the guy we had before. So I don't know. There is a reason to watch, but there was a reason for you guys to tune in at the very start. 7 o'clock tonight at ESPN. Here's why you got to tune in. 2 reasons, okay? I told you about them yesterday. You don't even have to stick around past this. First reason, these kickoffs are going to be insane. It is going to be the first time, kickoff tonight at 7 o'clock of the Hall of Fame game is going to be the first time you, me, or anybody are going to see what kickoffs now look like in the NFL. They don't look like what they used to. They're going to look, if you're unfamiliar with how kickoffs are now going to look in the NFL, I warn you, you're going to look at it and you're going to feel like an alien from another planet seeing a new sport that kind of resembles what you know as football, but it looks a little different. Do you ever watch Australian rules football and you go, yeah, that's kind of like football? That's what the new kickoff is going to look like. It's crazy. The configuration is nuts. It's going to change. It's going to change a lot about the game. I don't know what those things are. We'll take them as they come, but it certainly is going to affect the onside kick. Are onside kicks illegal now? That's a question. They probably are. No, they're not. Onside kicks are now only legal, but you have to announce them. They have to know that an onside kick is coming. Just watch the game if you're interested in seeing how it is changing and how it's progressing. Now, a lot of people are saying that this is just a last-ditch effort before we completely get rid of kickoffs. There are people who think that within 5 years, the NFL football games will not have kickoffs anymore. It's not something that they need to do. They can set the ball. They can do a coin flip and set the ball at somebody's 20 and go from there. Kickoffs are very dangerous. That's the reason they're trying to change it. They're trying the collision rate and the serious head injury rate caused from kickoffs pretty bad. So they're trying to fix it. And that's one of the reasons why they think kickoff. And let's be honest, for the last couple of years anyway, every kickoff goes through the end zone and it's like, oh, he's not returning this. So these new rules are designed to make sure or at least ensure that there are way more returns. So anyway, you're going to watch it. You see how it goes. Nobody can move until the guy catches the ball. There's going to be two dudes back there instead of just one. Remember, usually we have one return guy. Now, apparently, there are two designated return guys. I'm sure we're going to see crazy things like reverses between the two of them and all kinds of. I think it's going to be fun. I think that we will see. And by the way, the NFL themselves have said this. They said this as early as today in talking about. I was listening to Mike Florio. I don't know if you know who Mike Florio is. I was listening to Mike Florio and they were talking with someone from the NFL and they said, look, you have to accept this kickoff rule. We're trying to make the game better. It's a work in progress. We may change some of these rules and how we're doing this. They might be completely different by week 10 because we're going to watch it and we're going to tweak and we're going to implement new variants of what does work and what doesn't work. So anyway, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be the new kickoff rules tonight. I want to see what this looks like. I hope we're going to see a touchdown. I think we're going to see a touchdown on night one of the new. I think we're going to see a touchdown. And by the way, that's the other thing. The kickoff team is now different. The kickoff team is just not a bunch of spares who can block and all that stuff. Everybody is going to have ball skills. It's going to be all. It's going to be like people. It's going to be cornerbacks and it's going to be wide receivers. It's going to be spare running backs. The kicking game is going to be different, and it's going to be interesting, and we can see it for the first time tonight at 7 o'clock. What's the other thing? Guardian helmets. That's the other thing I want to see. The Guardian helmets are these practice padded helmets that we've been seeing the past couple of years in NFL training camp and at practices. They make the helmets look like they're, the great kazoo from the Flintstones. Got that whole thing. Guardian caps are now legal by choice to wear in games. So will we see anybody today on the Chicago Bears or on the Houston Texans wearing the Guardian caps? How prevalent is that going to be in the league? I think it looks terribly stupid. I think I'm like almost hoping it doesn't catch on because they do. It looks like a bunch of great kazoos back there. Just looks bad. It looks dumb. Makes you look like you got a giant head on a little body. I don't know. I don't love it, but hey, my kid plays football, so whatever. If it's going to cut down on the risk of like head injuries, maybe I should support it, but I'm not going to back away from the idea that it looks silly. All right, gangsters, that's about it. It's been a long show today. I appreciate you hanging out. Look at everybody in the chat room. You guys are the best. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. Don't forget, Pledge Week is upon us. I can direct your attention down there. Drop a little something in the Cash App or the Venmo. Keep the show going for another month. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. Shmee says, we call them scrum caps in rugby. They don't really do much for head injuries, but if it makes you feel better, no, they actually do, Shmi. They, at least in the football level. I don't know what you're talking about with rugby, but they've been proven 25% more protection. That's why they're serious in the NFL. They provide. I mean, of course, they provide 20%, 25% more protection. There's 25% more padding. I mean, they do something. They're stupid though. They look dumb. Barney says, "I'm sure the helmet looks stupid compared to the leather cap." Yeah, we will. We'll get used to it. That's a good point, Barney. Barney's right. We will. We'll get used to it. Everything looks stupid. I remember my grandpa hating the idea that goalies now had to wear masks in the NFL, in the NHL. I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a goddamn barbaric time in my life where goalies in the NHL didn't wear masks. I think it was like by choice. You could wear a mask if you wanted, but some people didn't. Crazy. And then helmets. I remember helmets. Back for a very small period of time when I was like 8, 9, 10, I was a Blackhawks fan. And I was a Blackhawks fan because my grandpa knew one of the Blackhawks. His name was Tom Lysiak. And so I was a little kid, and you meet a professional hockey player and you're like, he's like my favorite of all time. Tom Lysiak was one of the last people in the NFL to wear a helmet. He used to be out there skating around without a helmet. Everybody else had helmets on, not Lysiak. He was grandfathered in because apparently he played before, when you didn't have to wear, and his game was developed by not wearing a helmet, and it would be a burden to him to suddenly have to change his game. Whatever. But now everybody wears. We take it for granted. Everybody in the NHL now goalies all wear masks, and and everybody was wearing a helmet. Shmi says, "Gods, have you seen photos of Terry Sawchuk after years of not wearing a mask in hockey?" No, but I can imagine. I mean, you're taking a puck to the face. If you're not going to wear a face mask as a goalie, I'd be like, can these at least be Nerf pucks? Do these pucks have to be so heavy and so hard? Can't they be something that, I don't know, wouldn't require major jaw surgery should you take one? Let's see here. That's going to do it. All right, guys. Appreciate you hanging out. We'll be back tomorrow. As I say, Pugs at radiomisfits.com. We are looking to assemble a cadre of talented people with creative ideas and skills. If you are good at doing the things that it takes to create content and you can work autonomously on your own, and you would be interested in joining this ragged-ass creative street gang that we are calling the Radio Misfits Dallas, hit me up. Sell me on what it is you want to do. Show me some examples of your skill sets and your abilities as an editor or an entertainer. Whatever it is, hit me up. Pugs at radiomisfits.com. Love y'all, and we will see you tomorrow at high noon here live from the E-Gallery in Dallas's beautiful design district. I'm Pugs Moran. See you tomorrow.